Chapter 1726. Sang Han was ferocious and crazy. Burning his last bit of life, he wanted to kill Su Fong. Chapter 1745. 9 True 9 Sons. At this time, Su Fong looked like any sane immortal cultivator could easily kill him. Although Sang Han was at the end of his rope, he was still a deity. It would be easy for him to kill Su Fong. Law unleashed a wave of blood light, sword chi, attacking ancestor Tianming like a tide, and then turned to go save Su Fong. But at this time, a golden light suddenly burst out from between Tianming ancestor's eyebrows, turning into a mysterious and abstruse golden divine rune. It burst out an incomparably astonishing primordial spirit power, shattering Law's bloody sword chi. It instantly crossed the space and shot behind Law's head. This golden divine rune was the imperial seal planted in the depths of Tianming ancestors' divine aperture. It was also the slave seal. In addition to shackling the primordial spirit, the slave seal could also release divine might to protect and attack. After Tianming ancestor ascended to the divine realm, he became a servant of Tianming's sect. In fact, he was no different from a slave. Therefore, the imperial seal was also planted in his divine aperture. This imperial seal was 100 times more powerful than the imperial seal in the Supreme Elder's head. After it was activated, its power was incomparably strong. The primordial spirit divine aura it released was a god-level attack. It was fatal to the primordial spirit of a deity. However, the price of activating the imperial seal was also unbearable for Tianming ancestor. He had to sacrifice his own primordial spirit to activate the imperial seal. At this time, Tianming ancestor was also prepared to die together with Law. Even if he had to die, he had to delay Law. Of course, he also knew very well that no matter how powerful the imperial seal was, it was not enough to kill the primordial spirit of an Azura king. However, his target was not Law, but Su Fong. As long as he delayed Luo Chana and created an opportunity for Sang Han to kill Su Fong, his purpose would be achieved. Chi! Law's bloody robe suddenly ignited with bloody light, forming a protective divine might, blocking the golden imperial seal. However, it was only delayed for a moment. Burning the last of his strength, Sang Han had already killed his way to within 1,000 feet of the Su Fong. Such a short distance, to a god, was no different from close combat. Chapter 1745. 9 Truths and 9 Sons. Sang Han laughed maniacally. Tianming ancestor, I will kill Su Fong for you, and you will consume the power of Azura King's primordial spirit for me. Forefather Tianming roared with laughter. Since I'm going to die anyway, it's worth it if I can get rid of the biggest threat to the Tianming Haotsong sect. Luo was anxious and angry, but it was too late to help. It's as if Su Fong, will definitely die this time. Su Fong's fate is in my hands. Even a god can't decide it. Su Fong's pale face suddenly revealed an unyielding and resolute expression. His personality was like this. Even if it was the last breath of his life, even if he was facing a supreme deity, he would definitely not sit and wait for death. Even if he died, he would still make a final struggle. Cultivators were released from Su Fong's body one after another. There were more than 20 of them in total. These cultivators weren't the powerhouses under Su Fong. Instead, they were the powerhouses that Su Fong ordered Venerable Xianlin to destroy the array formation passageway at the beginning of the battle and took the opportunity to suppress them. He suppressed more than 100 of them in total, and only a dozen or so submitted. Moreover, most of them were at the Saint Immortal Realm, and there weren't many Dao Realm immortal supremacies. A portion of the remaining ones who refused to submit were devoured by Emperor Zhu and the Big Goblin. The other immortal supremacy powerhouses were shackled into the sky-burying nether coffin by the undead king and didn't have the time to sacrifice them. At this moment, they were released by Su Fong not to resist Sang Han, but to serve as meat shields. When these 20 or so powerhouses were released, Su Fong directly removed the shackles on their bodies. These powerhouses were shackled in the sky-burying nether coffin and thought that they would definitely die. After regaining their freedom, they were still confused. Their first reaction was to immediately erupt with their strength and form a defensive divine might. It was like a conditioned reflex. Boom, boom. A great elder of the heavenly mandate bright firmament sect had just unleashed his aura when his body was directly shattered by Sang-Han. Sang-Han crushed the bodies of more than a dozen cultivators in an incomparably domineering manner. He was less than 1,000 feet away from Su Fong. However, Sang-Han was still successfully blocked by Su Fong's meat shield for a breath of time. In the next moment, a 10,000 feet tall rock monster appeared in front of Su Fong. It was the mountain spirit of the heavenly mandate bright firmament sect. Boom! The mountain spirit's huge body filled the 1,000 feet distance between Su Fong and Sang-Han. At this moment, Sang-Han was completely crazy. He directly burned all of his strength, including his physical body and essence spirit. Like a crazy, ferocious beast, he pushed forward and actually forcefully crashed through the mountain spirit's huge body. The mountain-like body of the rock monster collapsed with a bang. The mountain spirit, which had the strength of a demigod, was killed by Sang-Han in the simplest and most domineering way. As for Sang-Han, he had also consumed nearly half of his energy, and his aura had become much weaker. Die! Sang-Han's voice was a little muffled, but it was filled with murderous intent as he charged straight at Su Fong. Boom! A supreme sovereign aura was released from Su Fong's body. Then, mysterious purple gas exploded from Su Fong's body with a bang, quickly condensing into a huge purple gas umbrella above his head. Su Fong's vital qi and energy were consumed, but his qi of the Emperor was very abundant. The purple qi Dharma spirit was also unharmed. At this moment, Su Fong activated the qi of the Emperor and the purple qi Dharma spirit, releasing the sovereign's divine aura that had long surpassed the limits of the great realm. It was difficult for the will of a deity to resist. Sang-Han felt as if he was facing the king of the deity realm. In the face of such divine aura, his will was also suppressed. His body trembled constantly. Although he was less than 100 feet away from Su Fong, it was extremely difficult to take a step forward. Su Fong, if I don't kill you, how can I be satisfied even if I die? Sang-Han burst out with a roar. His body, which was almost completely burned, and his primordial spirit, which was on the verge of collapse, suddenly exploded at this moment, turning into a torrent of terrifying energy and primordial spirit aura that swept over Su Fong. Boom! Su Fong's qi of the Emperor collapsed layer by layer. His body was hit by the torrent and was swept away. Crack! 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 Su Fong's flesh, bones, and meridians were shattered and turned into a pile of meat paste. His primordial spirit was also hit by the terrifying divine aura of Sang-Han's self-destruction and fell into a frenzy of killing. Su Fong, you still haven't died? Only if you die. Can I die in peace? Ha ha. You will undoubtedly die, but Su Fong won't, Luo said coldly. His tone was full of strong killing intent and confidence in Su Fong. Suddenly, he turned around and sucked the Destiny Ancestor's golden imperial seal into his mouth. Boom! A raging blood flame burned in his body, enveloping the imperial seal and burning wildly. The Destiny Ancestor was shocked. Once the imperial seal was incinerated, more than half of his primordial spirit would also be burned. At that time, how could he survive? He hurriedly urged the imperial seal and tried to rush out of Luo's body. But how could Luo spit out what he had swallowed? No matter how much the imperial seal struggled in his body, it could not rush out and was finally completely incinerated by the blood flame. However, Luo himself had also suffered considerable damage. After all, the imperial seal of the divine path of the heavens was no small matter. In contrast, the Destiny Ancestor was fatally injured and could no longer use any magic. Destiny Ancestor, you could die now. How dare you kill Su Fong? This king will suck the blood from your heart dry, Luo said with a murderous aura. I should have died long ago. If I kill Su Fong, the Destiny Hao Tsang sect that I personally created will continue my legacy and lead the immortal Tao world. This means that I'm still alive in this world. So what if I die? Huh? The Destiny ancestor closed his eyes and laughed complacently. Not only was he fearless, but he also seemed to have been liberated. Sorry to disturb you. A weak voice came, and the Destiny ancestor's laughter came to an abrupt end. He opened his eyes and looked at the source of the voice in disbelief. Su Fong was standing there, unharmed. His face was as pale as paper, his breath was weak, and his body was trembling as if he would collapse at any moment. However, he was still standing there in perfect condition. His body, which was not very tall and strong, seemed to be able to support the heavens and earth. A cultivator from a great world actually has such a powerful body. It's 10 times, no, 100 times stronger than ancient cultivators. The Destiny ancestor muttered to himself, his eyes full of unwillingness. Luo Lung said eerily, "Not only is this kid's body a perfection, but he's also cultivated all kinds of extraordinary true forms. Even if there's only a drop of blood left, he can still come back to life. How could he die so easily? Now you can die in peace. Before I die, I'll tell you one thing. Not only will you die, but I'll also uproot the Destiny how Tsang sect you founded. I can guarantee you that within 10,000 years, the heavens mandate how Tsang sect will no longer exist in the large world. I will wipe out all of your legacies." Su Fong's voice was like the voice of the Grim Reaper, plunging the Destiny ancestor into complete despair. A crimson sword shot out of Law's eyes and pierced the Destiny ancestor's forehead, wiping out his nascent spirit. Law's right hand then stabbed into the Destiny ancestor's heart like a sword, rapidly devouring the essence of his life. The Destiny ancestor's life force rapidly drained away until it completely disappeared. The founder of the Destiny, Hao Tsang sect, had fallen. Even in death, his aged face and eyes were still full of unwillingness. Ancestor. The Destiny ancestor sealed the dying First Supreme Elder's injuries and sent him to the outskirts of the sky's sacred ground. Witnessing the Destiny ancestor's death, the First Supreme Elder let out a roar of despair and indignation. The entire Destiny Hao Tsang sect fell into shock and despair. The next moment, all cultivators of the Destiny Hao Tsang sect, listen up, fight to the last man and kill Su Fong. Chapter 17:27. More than half of the sect's elders, grand elders, and grand elders have been killed by Su Fong. The sect master had been severely injured by Su Fong and was still in seclusion. It would take a long time for him to recover. The grand elder was also in a half-dead state. Now, even the sect's patriarch had fallen because of Su Fong. Su Fong. It was the nightmare and disaster of the entire Heavenly Fate Hao Tsang sect. The cultivators of Heavenly Fate Hao Tsang sect had always considered themselves the leaders of the immortal Tao. Their confrontation with Su Fong had ended up in this state because they had suppressed Su Fong. However, Heavenly Fate Hao Tsang sect did not think about that. They thought that if they did not kill Su Fong, the sect would be destroyed. Once the sect was destroyed, they would lose their current power, status, and resources. They would become stray dogs. With the death of the Heavenly Fate Patriarch and the heavy injuries of the Grand Elder, the entire Heavenly Fate Hao Tsang sect fell into despair. When people fell into despair, they would often go crazy. Following the Grand Elder's order, the entire Heavenly Fate Hao Tsang sect went into a frenzy. There was only one thought in their hearts, and that was to kill Su Fong. If we don't kill Su Fong, Heavenly Fate Hao Tsang sect will definitely be destroyed. When the tree falls, the monkeys scatter. None of us will have good days ahead. Kill Su Fong. A Grand Elder's thunderous roar reverberated among the Heavenly Fate Hao Tsang sect cultivators. This was the Grand Elder who had been forced to slap himself by Su Fong because he had humiliated by Ling not long ago. Su Fong is severely injured and his life is hanging by a thread. The Azura god beside him is only in essence spirit. He has expended a lot of energy fighting the Patriarch. We have the advantage in numbers. We can wear him down. Now is the only chance to kill Su Fong, and also the last chance. Kill! 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 Killing intent surged, causing the sky to change color. The heavenly fate Haotsong sect cultivators were forced into a corner and fell into a frenzy. Dao Xiantian and Lu Yutian looked at each other and saw helplessness in each other's eyes. Although they were the top 10 disciples, it was difficult for them to change anything. Although they admired and feared Su Fong, they couldn't kill him as part of the Heaven's Mandate Haotsong sect. In order to prevent Su Fong from escaping, the Heavenly Mandate Haotsong sect cultivators created a gigantic array formation outside the Cloud Heaven sacred ground. The formation was called Heaven's Net. Although it couldn't be compared to the Heaven's Mandate Haotsong sect's Grand Formation, it was still extremely powerful. It could trap a demigod powerhouse like an inescapable net. As the formation required experts to maintain, the Heavenly Mandate Haotsong sect was severely lacking in manpower. Therefore, the Heaven's Mandate Haotsong sect issued a domineering order to all the sects and cultivator clans from the 8 immortal domains. Suppressing Su Fong would be rewarded handsomely. Those who disobeyed would have their families and families exterminated. The patriarch of the Heaven's Mandate Haotsong sect had fallen. The Grand Elder was severely injured, and the sect's mountain spirit was also killed. However, there were still many Dao Realm experts. The sect master, elders, and special disciples under the Grand Elder had not suffered much damage. A starving camel was still bigger than a horse. At that moment, the Heaven's Mandate Haotsong sect was like a huge mountain. Although it was about to collapse, no one could shake it. If anyone dared to challenge it now, they would be crushed mercilessly. The Heaven's Mandate Haotsong sect was still so domineering even when it was about to be destroyed. In just 2 hours, all the cultivators outside the Cloud Heaven sacred ground had been gathered by the Heaven's Mandate Haotsong sect. There were more than 1 million of them. 1 million cultivators seemed insignificant compared to the tens of millions of cultivators during the Great Immortal Fiend War. However, these cultivators were all here for the treasures of the Cloud Heaven sacred ground. They were all experts and had much stronger combat power than cultivators of the same level. 1 million cultivators were enough to fight against an army of tens of millions of cultivators. In addition, the Heaven's Mandate Haotsong sect also sent out 100,000 experts to form an army and charge towards Su Fong. Their final struggle is really crazy. Su Fong raised his eyebrows as he looked at the army of cultivators rushing over like dark clouds. In just 2 hours, Su Fong had recovered a little. Although he was still far from his peak state, at least he was not as scary as before. To be able to survive a deity's self-detonation and recover to such a state in such a short time, even a deity would not be able to do such a thing. Besides the recovery ability of the Black Lotus True Body, Dragon Subduing True Body, and Blood Transformation True Body, Su Fong had also devoured Patriarch Tianming's corpse. Although Patriarch Tianming's heart blood had been devoured and he had lost most of his life essence, he was still a god after all. The life essence contained in his corpse and the power of a god that had not completely dissipated. Su Fong had used the powerful devouring ability of the Yellow Spring Blood Sea to devour Patriarch Tianming's body. Although it was only a small part, that was why he could recover so quickly. However, Su Fong's current state was still not good. The power of Sang Han's self-destruction contained a primordial spirit attack, which caused a considerable impact to his primordial spirit. It even affected his primordial spirit consciousness and emotions. At this time, his eyes had turned blood red, flashing with fierce, murderous intent. Su Fong, can you still hold on? Luo's voice came from the blood jade. It's okay. Su Fong responded faintly, not intending to let Luo attack again. Luo was not without the power to fight at this time. He could even easily kill all the cultivators. However, this would cause his primordial spirit to suffer greater damage. Luo had just broken through the shackles of the blood-colored cage and consumed a lot of primordial spirit power, which had not yet recovered. Just now, he first used Su Fong's perfect body to fight Sang Han with the supreme Azura divine ability, and then directly fought Patriarch Tianming with his primordial spirit body. In particular, He had directly devoured and dissolved Patriarch Tianming's imperial seal, which caused great damage to his primordial spirit. Although he had devoured Patriarch Tianming's heartblood, it was still difficult to make up for the consumption. The loss of primordial qi and energy was relatively easy to recover. Once the primordial spirit power was consumed or injured, it would be extremely difficult to recover. It would even leave permanent damage, which would affect the improvement of cultivation. No matter how strong Luo was, if his primordial spirit was injured, he would be no different from other cultivators. Luo was still a little worried. Su Fong, your current state is not good. Can you really do it? Su Fong smiled confidently. Leave it to me, Luo. If I need you to do everything, won't you become my nanny? Don't forget, I still have so many experts under me. They are not to be trifled with. Tianming Hao Tsang sect has no gods at this time, and there is not even a single demigod expert left. It will be difficult for them to stop me. Thus, Luo no longer insisted and settled in the blood jade inside the cavern of time. Whoosh, whoosh, Green Feather Emperor, Bai Ling, Vermilion Emperor, Gui Gui, the Undead Ruler, and Li Haojia were all released by Su Fong. These were the top experts under Su Fong, especially the Undead Ruler, who had obtained a trace of the evil god's power after sacrificing Patriarch Tianming. His current strength could be said to be invincible among those below the demigod level. Then there was Bai Ling, who was on the verge of breaking through to the Demon Saint realm. She only needed to make a breakthrough and pass the Demon Saint heavenly tribulation to become a Demon Saint. Green Feather Emperor had been seriously injured before, but after devouring the cloud-piercing eagle and the King Grade Yin-Yang Immortal Sky Pill, he had mostly recovered. Although Li Haojia's strength was not high, he currently possessed the supreme treasure of the Demon Subduing Hall, the Demon Transformation Pagoda. Additionally, he had suppressed many powerful Great Yaos. Just now, he had even subdued an extremely powerful Great Yaos. Gui Gui was even more powerful. After Su Fong killed Ming Yen, he gave all 9 demonic beasts that Ming Yen had possessed to Gui Gui. Due to the lack of time, Gui Gui could not devour many. However, Gui Gui's poison could even threaten a demigod expert. If she devoured all 9 demonic beasts and cultivated the yellow spring blood sea, she could even devour a demigod expert. The space around the sky's sacred ground is shackled by the formation. If we won't leave, we have to break the formation. Green Feather Emperor's eyes shone with a sharp light, as if they could tear through the void and see through everything. I'm afraid it won't be easy to break the formation from the inside, but it doesn't matter. Is there anyone in the large world who can stop me right now? Su Fong's voice was filled with a lofty sense of dominance. Bai Ling said with a murderous aura, "Brother, the Tianming Haotsong sect really doesn't know what's good for them. We might as well destroy them." Destroy the Tianming Haotsong sect? Bai Ling's murderous aura was not to be underestimated. Given Su Fong's current overall strength, destroying the Tianming Haotsong sect was not impossible, although he would have to pay a price. However, Su Fong had to be wary of one thing. Once the Tianming Haotsong sect was destroyed, the immortal Tao world would have no dragons. At that time, the demon race and resurrected experts would easily devour the immortal Tao world. This was not something Su Fong wanted to see. Let's kill our way out first. Second primordial spirit, go. The black rune that housed the second primordial spirit shot out of Su Fong's glabella with a whoosh. It turned into a black Xianguang and shot into the sky, disappearing into the void in an instant. No matter how powerful the Tianming Haotsong sect formation was, it could not stop the second primordial spirit. The cultivator army charged over in a grand and imposing manner, surging like a raging tide. Li Haojia said, "Brother Su, you're injured right now and should not take action. Just watch how we kill the enemy. Then I'll wait and see." Su Fong laughed. "Undead Lord, release the corpse puppets." Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The Undead Lord released 100,000 corpse puppets and arranged them neatly in front of the army. At his command, they charged toward the cultivator army. Nine truths, nine sons. During the Great War of Immortals and Demons, Su Fang's corpse puppet army was only left with a few tens of thousands. After the undead lord's continuous replenishment, he barely managed to gather 100,000. Su Fang released these corpse puppets first to use them as cannon fodder to wear down the cultivator army's momentum. In any case, these corpse puppets were refined to resurrect cultivators. Su Fang would not feel the pinch even if they were all killed. Currently, the Great World had the most resurrected experts. When the time came, he would suppress some more and refine them. It would not take long for him to reorganize a new army. Boom, boom, boom. The 100,000 corpse puppets and the cultivator army collided with a loud bang. It was like two torrents colliding, causing a huge commotion. Chapter 1728. At this moment, 8%, read percent, book, Osu Fang and his subordinates, as well as the big goblin, charged out. The undead king was at the forefront. He activated the sky-burying coffin and released an endless stream of death chi, creating a long river of death chi that surged forward. Next was Li Haojia. He activated the demon transformation tower and released 1,000,000 big goblins, including the big goblin toad. Apart from the toad, which was the most powerful, most of the other big goblins were below the demon emperor level. They were not that powerful, but their numbers were astonishing. The green-feathered demon emperor, who had transformed into a huge green pung, carried Su Fang in the center. Bai Ling and Zhu Huang transformed into their true forms and guarded the right flank. Gue guarded the left flank alone. With Gue's current strength, even high-level Dao Realm cultivators would be sent to their deaths. They would be devoured by Gue as nutrients. Like a sharp blade, Gue tore a bloody hole in the army of 1,000,000 cultivators. His momentum was unstoppable. The army of 1,000,000 cultivators who came aggressively did not expect that Su Fang not only had his own strength, but also had such a terrifying force under his command. At this moment, it was completely crushing and even a massacre. This army of 1,000,000 cultivators was originally put together under the threat and temptation of the Tianming Haotsong sect. They were not united to begin with. At this moment, when they saw Su Fang's terrifying overall strength, they immediately lost their fighting spirit and began to flee. In the end, it evolved into a retreat. Only the Lord of Five Poisons is left. Who would have thought that in less than 10,000 years after ascending from the small world to the great world, I would have the strength to sweep away the number one force in the great world? Seeing this scene, Su Fang could not help but sigh in his heart. At the same time, a strong sense of confidence surged in his heart. Su Fang soon arrived in front of the great Empyrean formation and encountered the obstruction of the formation. Su Fang, your overall strength has caused this seat to feel extremely shocked as well. However, it's impossible for you to escape from the heavenly mandate Haotsong sect's great encirclement formation. Even if I can't kill you, I'll trap you. After 10 days, the heavenly net formation will be activated, and you and your subordinates will be crushed into pieces under the power of the heavenly Tao. First Supreme Elder's voice came with the help of the formation. His voice was full of hatred and killing intent, as well as pride. He considered Su Fang to be a turtle in a jar, a fish in a net. It turned out that the great encirclement formation was not only a trapping formation to trap the enemy, but it also had a terrifying offensive ability. After being activated, it would draw upon the power of the heavenly Tao to crush the enemy within the formation. However, activating the heavenly net formation was definitely not an easy task. If the first Supreme Elder was not injured with his supreme strength, he would be able to activate it. His life was hanging by a thread at the moment, and it was only because Patriarch Tianming had sealed his injuries that he was barely hanging on. He would die as soon as the seal was undone, let alone activate the formation. To activate the formation, only the cultivators who cultivated with the heavenly mandate Haotsong sect's world origin could barely activate it. However, not only would that consume true chi and dermic powers, but it would also consume a large amount of life force. Although the heavenly mandate Haotsong sect was said to represent the heavenly Tao and control the Haotsong sect, how could the power of the heavenly Tao be so easily borrowed? Cultivators would encounter all kinds of calamities from the heavenly Tao when they cultivated, let alone borrowing the power of the heavenly Tao. This was completely defying the heavens and would definitely be punished by the heavenly Tao. The lifespan of the heavenly mandate Haotsong sect's cultivators was damaged. It was completely impossible for them to lead the immortal Tao world again. Therefore, the first Supreme Elder did not plan to activate the Great Encirclement Formation to suppress Su Fong in the beginning. Instead, he used the cultivator's power to kill Su Fong while he was heavily injured. In the end, at this point, the first Supreme Elder no longer had any misgivings. However, hundreds of thousands of cultivators working together to activate the Great Encirclement Formation was not something that could be activated at will. It would take at least 10 days. I can't break your formation? Not necessarily. Su Fong showed a mocking expression. He immediately took out the Cavern of Time and entered the depths of the cavern. The green-feathered Demon Emperor, Bai Ling, Undead Lord, and other subordinates were guarding the surroundings. After sitting down cross-legged in the room of the Cavern of Time and forming a seal, Su Fong's physical body immediately collapsed and turned into a pool of blood that filled the entire room. 10 days. In the Cavern of Time, it was more than 3 months. With the devouring power of Su Fong's Yellow Spring Blood Sea and the recovery ability of his true body, 3 months was enough for him to recover several times. The only trouble was that Sang Han's self-destruction of his primordial spirit affected Su Fong's primordial spirit consciousness. Ancestor Tianming. Su Fong's mind moved, and the corpse of Ancestor Tianming appeared in the Blood Sea. This supreme expert from the God Realm had become the nutrients for Su Fong's recovery. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The pool of blood wrapped around Ancestor Tianming's corpse and corroded it. The incomparably majestic energy and life essence reignited the flame of life in the Yellow Spring Blood Sea, which was originally dim. There was not much divine power left in Ancestor Tianming's corpse. Fortunately, when Law devoured the blood of his heart, he had sealed the divine power. It was enough for Su Fong to recover the vital energy in his body. If he completely devoured Ancestor Tianming's corpse, his cultivation would undergo another transformation. The Tree of World began to tremble. Traces of divine power were absorbed into the Tree of World and transformed into the power of the world of Yin Yang. At the same time, Su Fong also extracted a part of the divine power and let the golden elixir of origin absorb it to make up for the vital energy that had been consumed previously. 3 days later, less than 1/10 of Ancestor Tianming's corpse had been devoured by Su Fong. If it had been a demigod expert, the Yellow Spring Blood Sea's invincible devouring ability would have been able to devour the corpse in less than a day. The body of a god was unexpectedly difficult to devour. However, it was this 1/10 of the corpse that allowed Su Fong to recover 70 to 80% of his vital energy, and the power of the world of Yin Yang. Next, Su Fong began to madly devour all kinds of pills and spiritual items, especially the vast Yang pills and spiritual items that contain the power of Yang. He cultivated the 9 Yang transformations to replenish the Yang Qi in his Yang meridian. At the same time, in the state of the Yellow Spring Blood Sea, he activated the dragon-subduing True Body, the Black Lotus True Body, and the Blood Transformation True Body. Another 10 or so days passed. Su Fong had finally recovered to his peak state. At this time, Su Fong settled down and used the pure Yang divine might and the heavenly fate life shrinking technique to expel the murderous thoughts in his consciousness. Whoosh! Su Fong's Yang immortal appeared in the true dragon world. Wooling Goblin, come here. After Su Fong transmitted a thought, Wooling Goblin quickly appeared in front of him. Master, what are your orders? I'm not asking you to do anything, but to give you benefits, great benefits. Su Fong smiled and waved his hand. The true dragon world's magic treasure swept up a large pile of stones and piled them on the ground. forming a mountain that was hundreds of feet high. Master, this is the corpse of the mountain spirit of the Tianming Hao Tsang sect. Wooling Goblin was confused at first, but then he was overjoyed. The mountain spirit of the Tianming Hao Tsang sect was first controlled by the second primordial spirit with a night demon and successfully ambushed the first supreme elder. However, it was then killed by the deity Sang Han, which made Su Fong feel very regretful. This was a peerless master who was equivalent to a demigod. Fortunately, although the mountain spirit was killed, there was still a lot of earth-type essence left in its corpse. To an earth-type spirit like Wooling Goblin, it was naturally very beneficial. After coming to the outside world, Wooling Goblin was of great help to Su Fong, as he needed to constantly devour earth-type essence to improve. His improvement was very slow. He gradually pulled away from the powerful big goblin. If he could devour the earth-type essence of the mountain spirit, Wooling Goblin would have a great improvement. 2 months passed in the time cave abode. Su Fong flew out of the time cave abode and came to the outside world. At this time, the Tianming Hao Tsang sect's cultivators had already activated a portion of the Tianming Hao Tsang sect's power. Within the range of the Tianming Hao Tsang sect's formation, an astonishing shackle shrouded it, as if it was being suppressed by the heavenly Tao. Even with the strength of Bai Ling and the other big goblins, they were also suppressed and had no choice but to activate the medicinal power to resist the shackles. Su Fong, you've actually recovered in such a short time. First Supreme Elder's voice, full of shock, came from outside the formation. How terrifying was the power of a god's self-destruction before his death. Not only did Su Fong withstand it, but he also recovered to his peak state in a short 6 days, as if he had never suffered any injuries. How could First Supreme Elder not be shocked? If Sang Han knew, he would probably be so angry that he would self-destruct again. Su Fong mocked. Are you very disappointed, First Supreme Elder? First Supreme Elder said coldly. So what if you've recovered? Can you still break through the Tianming Hao Tsang sect's formation? Unless you're God, in a few more days, you won't be able to escape the fate of being suppressed. Is that so? Soon, your hopes will be completely dashed. In the eyes of Su Fong, the Tianming Hao Tsang sect is no different from paper. Break for me. Su Fong's domineering voice was followed by a cold shout. Break? How are you going to break the formation? First Supreme Elder was startled, then burst into laughter. The cultivators of the Tianming Hao Tsang sect also laughed wildly, mocking Su Fong for overestimating himself. At this moment, boom, in the air outside the formation, an extremely shocking demonic chi suddenly exploded, and then a demonic saber slashed down fiercely. It felt as if the saber could even cut the sky in half. Second primordial spirit. It turned out that Su Fong had sent his second primordial spirit out earlier because he had borrowed its ability to ignore the formation's restraints to travel outside the formation, and then found the body of the immortal demon monster that was previously hidden in the chaotic space-time outside the chaotic heaven great world. The immortal demon monster had fused with the bodies of 5 demon god battle slaves, and its physical strength had reached the peak of the high-level Tao realm. In addition, the demonic saber that it had snatched from the Lord of the Demon Realm was a god-level demonic weapon. After being activated by the immortal demon monster, the saber split the sky and cut through the void. Screech. Demonic light covered the radiance of the divine sun. When the demonic saber's tip landed on the formation, it immediately slashed a 1,000-foot-wide crack in the formation. Thousands of Tianming Hao Tsang sect cultivators around were immediately killed by the saber. Chapter 1729. The heavenly mandate Hao Tsang sect was dumbfounded by the monster's attack and fell into a great panic. Chapter 1748 of the 9 Truths and 9 Sons. Who would have thought? They never would have guessed that Su Fong had hidden such a peerless expert outside. Moreover, he was so powerful that he could destroy the Empyrean formation with one strike. A demigod. Only a demigod could possess such terrifying strength. It's a demon god, war slave of the demons. Su Fong. How despicable of you to hide a demon god war slave outside in advance. Go stop him. Once Su Fong rushes out of the Empyrean formation, no one will be able to contend against him. The first Supreme Elder roared furiously. Immediately, hundreds of Heavenly Mandate Haotsong sect experts leaped into the air and charged at the monster. At the same time, the Heavenly Mandate Haotsong sect cultivators below frantically injected true chi and dermic power into the Empyrean formation, causing the tear in the formation to rapidly close. In a few short breaths, the 100-meter-wide tear in the formation had shrunk to less than 30 meters wide. High in the sky, the monster ignored the Heavenly Mandate Haotsong sect cultivators. Just as he was about to activate his demonic saber again, he suddenly turned vigilant and looked at the void not far away. He said icily, "Lord of the demon realm, come out, you traitor of the demons. Once I suppress you, I'll erase your consciousness completely and refine you into a puppet." The Lord of the demon realm's cold voice sounded from the void. As it turned out, the Lord of the demon realm had fled in a panic when he saw that the situation had taken a turn for the worse. However, this was the last chance to kill Su Fong, so how could he leave just like that? Therefore, he didn't go far and hid in the shadows, waiting for an opportunity to strike. At this critical juncture, the Lord of the demon realm saw an opportunity and showed himself without hesitation. The demons had to pay a huge price to raise a demon god war slave, even sacrificing the incomparably precious blood of a demon god that was revered as sacred blood by the demons. Who would have thought that the demon god war slave would unexpectedly betray the demons during the Great War? Not only did it cause the demons' efforts to go to waste, but it also caused them to pay a heavy price. Now that he saw the demon god war slave again, the Lord of the demon realm felt his heart bleed again. How could he not grit his teeth? Boom! Boom! The Lord of the demonic realm and the immortal demonic monster engaged in an earth-shattering battle in the sky. The sky shook, the wind and clouds surged, and demonic energy covered the sky. After all, the Lord of the demonic realm was a demigod master. Although he had yet to recover from his injuries, the demonic monster only had the strength of a demigod with the help of the demonic blade. He was barely able to fight against the Lord of the demonic realm. He no longer had the time to break the formation. Jiuzhen Jiang chapter 1748. Within the formation, Su Fong led the experts under his command and charged towards the crack. Block the crack at all costs. Under the orders of the Supreme Elder, the cultivators of the Tianming Haotsong sect and the experts from the other factions charged toward the crack at all costs. They even sacrificed their flesh and primordial spirits just to fill the crack. Because the crack was too small, even though Su Fong and his subordinates were exceedingly powerful, they were still trapped in the formation. At this critical juncture, boom, boom, a divine might enveloped the crack. Poison domain world. It was the Lord of Five Poisons. As it turned out, the Lord of Five Poisons had arrived a long time ago. He had been mingling with the experts of the other factions and hadn't been able to find a chance to make a move. At this critical moment, he suddenly made a move. He used the Five Poisons' true body to execute the law of poison and created a poison domain world. Poisonous gas surged and swept out. As soon as it came into contact with the poison, the aura field, flesh, and divine armor would be corroded layer by layer. Even true energy would be corroded. Then countless scorpions, spiders, toads, and other monsters of the Five Poisons charged out of the poison domain world. There was also a huge poisonous scorpion with golden immortal patterns on its back that rampaged among the cultivators. It spat out a pink poisonous mist that knocked the cultivators out immediately. The tail of the poisonous scorpion was like the scythe of the Grim Reaper. It kept reaping the lives of the cultivators as it swung about. Damn it! You're the disciple of the venerable Poison Master. How dare the venerable Poison Master go against the Tianming Haotsong sect? I'll pull out his tendons and skin him alive. The first Supreme Elder roared thunderously. He was about to suppress the Su Fong when such an unforeseen event occurred. An early-stage Dao Realm cultivator had turned the tables on them. One could only imagine how furious he was. I've already betrayed my master. The venerable poison master is no longer my master. Come and kill me if you can. Ha ha! The Lord of Five Poisons laughed heartily. The lofty and domineering aura of a former overlord of Small World was on full display at this moment. Kill him. I'll pull out his tendons and skin him alive. The first supreme elder roared. Thousands of Tianming Haotsong sect cultivators charged at the Lord of Five Poisons. The Lord of Five Poisons was only an early-stage Dao realm cultivator, after all. Under the attacks of so many powerhouses, the Lord of Five Poisons' poison domain world only lasted for a moment before it shattered with a loud bang. The huge poisonous scorpion was also gravely injured. In the blink of an eye, the number of cultivators sealing the crack began to dwindle. However, the crack torn open by the immortal and demon monsters had already closed to a width of only a foot. Whoosh! A blood ribbon nimbly shuttled through the crack and rapidly transformed into Su Fong's true body. Whoosh! 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 Su Fong released the Death Lord, Bai Ling, the Green Feather Demon Emperor, and other powerhouses. They launched a fierce attack on the surrounding cultivators, then pounced on the Lord of Five Poisons to resolve the crisis the Lord of Five Poisons was in. Lord of Five Poisons, you finally appeared. I thought you wouldn't dare to come. Li Haojie controlled the big goblin and chased away the cultivators around the Lord of Five Poisons. He laughed heartily. How can we miss out on such a grand occasion? We have to thank the Tianming Haotsong sect for giving us brothers this opportunity to shine in the great world. The Lord of Five Poisons also laughed heartily. Let's talk later. Su Fong was overjoyed that his old friend from a small world had finally gathered. However, now is not the time to reminisce. If you don't stop now, I'll suppress you all. Su Fong's voice boomed like thunder. Boom! The aura of a ruler exploded from Su Fong's body and spread out in all directions. The cultivators of the Tianming Haotsong sect and the other powerhouses from the immortal realms all trembled under Su Fong's divine aura. After witnessing the scene of Su Fong killing Ming Yan, as well as the deaths of two deities and the fact that he had so many powerful subordinates, these cultivators had completely lost their will to fight. Whoosh! The immortal and demon monster flew back to Su Fong's side. As soon as Su Fong charged out of the Great Formation, the Lord of the Demonic Realm's divine aura changed instantly. He didn't dare to stay any longer and escaped into the void again. The Lord of the Demonic Realm, the strongest powerhouse of the Demonic Realm, had lost every battle and fled like a stray dog. This had never happened even during the Great War of the Immortals and Demons. However, it was fortunate that the Lord of the Demonic Realm fled quickly. Otherwise, he would have suffered the same fate as the Tianming Haotsong sect's first Supreme Elder. Su Fong said imposingly, First Supreme Elder, do you have anything else to say? There was a moment of silence. The first Supreme Elder's despairing voice sounded faintly. The heavens want to destroy the Tianming Haotsong sect. This seat is powerless to reverse the heavens' will, but this seat will never accept my fate. Su Fong, do you dare to destroy the Tianming Haotsong sect? Behind the heavenly fate bright firmament sect is the heaven-sealing divine path of the myriad heavens' divine world. If you dare to destroy the heavenly fate bright firmament sect, the heaven-sealing divine path will definitely send deities to descend. Even if you're lucky enough to survive, there won't be a place for you in the God realm. The first Supreme Elder was still incomparably arrogant as he threatened Su Fong. Su Fong raised his eyebrows. Even now, the first Supreme Elder was still so unyielding. He considered himself as the leader of the immortal Tao and used the heaven-sealed divine path to threaten him. Su Fong would definitely go to the God realm. His peak wasn't in the outside world, but in the myriad worlds. If he really offended the heaven-sealed divine path, it would definitely bring him endless trouble when he went to the God realm. Not only would it be trouble, he might even be ruthlessly suppressed by the heaven-sealed divine path as soon as he appeared in the God realm. From the miserable experiences of Frozen Dream and Mother Yun, as well as the experiences of Shu Yunkong and Shu Wanjin, Su Fong already had a very deep understanding of the cruelty of the God realm. The God realm wasn't a paradise. It also followed the laws of nature, with a strong preyed on the weak. It was even 10 times or 100 times crueler than the outside world. In the immortal world, there were all kinds of rules and order, but in the God realm, all the rules were controlled by the various God clans. No matter how extraordinary Su Fong was in the outside world, in the God realm, it was the same as ascending from the outside world. How could he contend against the powerful heaven-sealed divine path? However, so what? He killed the destiny ancestor, destroyed the will projection of a heaven-sealed divine path powerhouse on the destiny stage, and shook the foundation of the heaven-sealed divine path in the outside world. How could the heaven-sealed divine path let him go? If the heavens want to suppress me, I'll go against the heavens. This was Su Fong. In order to resist the demon race and revive the powerhouse, I'll temporarily leave the Heaven Seal sect behind. However, I'll shackle all the cultivators of the Heaven Seal sect and make them my slaves. As for the first Supreme Elder and the sect master who's recuperating in seclusion, they must be killed. As for the gods of the Heaven Seal divine path, how could they be true powerhouses when they descend to the outside world? When the time comes, I'll kill them all. Su Fong made up his mind. His deep eyes flashed with ruthlessness and decisiveness. Su Fong looked in the direction of the first Supreme Elder, revealing a murderous intent. At this moment, buzz, buzz, buzz. The Destiny Tao text of the Heaven Seal Life, Shrinking Technique, and the Heaven Seal True text of the Heaven Seal Unravel suddenly caused a huge commotion in his divine aperture. A huge sense of danger surged from the bottom of Su Fong's heart. A huge life-threatening crisis was about to descend. Previously, when God Sang Han and the Destiny Ancestor appeared, the Destiny Tao text and the Heaven Seal True text did not cause such a huge commotion. Su Fong suddenly raised his head and looked at the vault of heaven. Suddenly, a thunderous shout came from the cavern of time. Su Fong, be careful. A supreme powerhouse of the God realm has crossed the boundary and descended to the outside world. It's not the Heaven Seal divine path. Even the Heaven Seal divine path does not have such a powerful powerhouse. It's the Azura clan. I didn't expect that when I rushed out of the blood-colored cage, it would alarm the powerhouses of the clan. Chapter 1730. Su Fong's face was filled with shock and horror. 9 Truths and 9 Sons, Chapter 1749. The experts of the demon race in the God realm could also descend upon the outside world with their divine aura. It was the same for the experts of the Seal Heaven Divine Path. However, the demon race did it through an altar built in advance, while the Seal Heaven Divine Path relied on the Heaven's Will altar. The experts of the Azura race did not need to build any altars in the outside world and could directly descend upon the outside world. What kind of amazing ability did that require? At the very least, it was beyond the demon race in the God realm and the Seal Heaven Divine Path. Of course, this was also due to the importance of the Azura race. Therefore, the ones who descended upon the outside world were definitely the top experts of the Azura race. As for the demon race in the God realm and the Seal Heaven Divine Path, it was impossible for them to dispatch their top experts to descend upon the outside world. Just as Su Fong was in shock, a blood-red light with a supreme divine aura descended from the sky with a loud bang. It accurately enveloped Su Fong and the surrounding 10 miles of space. From the side, it looked like a river of blood descending from the sky. It was not a spectacular sight, but it was also very strange and evil. Mysterious runes appeared in the blood-red light and quickly condensed into blood-red chains that intertwined to form a huge cage. It shackled Su Fong and the experts under Su Fong, including the nearby Heavenly Fate Hao Tsang sect cultivators. What is that? Su Fong. The great demon Su Fong is shackled. Su Fong must have angered the heavens by trying to destroy the Heavenly Fate Hao Tsang sect. That's why the heavens sent down a divine punishment. The heavens really have eyes. The surrounding cultivators were sent flying by the descending blood-red light. Some were directly shaken to death. Everyone was incomparably shocked and began to discuss animatedly. Boom! The blood-red light cage burned with flames and emitted a terrifying divine aura that could incinerate blood chi. In an instant, everyone in the blood-red cage, including Su Fong, had their blood chi rapidly evaporated by the divine aura of the blood-red cage. Boom, boom, boom. A mid-level Tao realm expert of the heavenly fate Hao Tsang sect was shocked and released his divine aura in an attempt to resist the divine aura of the flames. Chi. Who would have thought that the mid-level Tao realm expert would unleash his godly might, which shot out from the blood-red cage and engulfed the expert, burning him madly. The man's blood and chi were burned away at an unimaginable speed. In just a few breaths of time, he was reduced to a dried corpse. Su Fong asked in shock, "Luo, what's going on?" This is the Azura's most powerful ability, the sinful blood fire. It can evaporate the blood and chi of cultivators. Even the experts of the God realm will have their blood and chi evaporated if they fall into the cage created by the sinful blood fire. The more you circulate your cultivation to resist, the faster you will die. Although this sinful blood fire was descended from an Azura powerhouse from the myriad worlds, and its power is less than 1/10,000th, it's still not something that a cultivator from a great world can contend against. Looks like they're forcing me to take action to exhaust my Yuan spirit. I have no choice but to take action. Luo's solemn voice came from the blood-red jade in his body and was about to fly out from Su Fong's body. Luo, you shouldn't exhaust the power of your Yuan spirit. Let me deal with them first. Humph! They want to suppress my Su Fong with their godly might? How can I let them do as they wish? Su Fong said decisively. Boom, boom, boom. Seeing that the blood chi of the five venoms Order Master, Li Haojia, and the other great demons were being vaporized, and that it was no longer appropriate for Luo Yu to make a move, Su Fong couldn't care about anything else. He unleashed the might of the world of yin and yang. Within the range of the godly might of the yin-yang world, the godly might of the strange, sinful blood fire also collapsed layer by layer until it disappeared completely. The Lord of Five Poisons, Li Haojia, and the other experts, Bai Ling, the green-feathered demon emperor, and the big goblin were quickly taken into the Jinlong world by Su Fong. Save me. Su Fong, save us. Tens of thousands of cultivators from the Tianming Haotsong sect and other forces were also shackled by the blood-red cage. Among them were Tao Master Han Su, whom Su Fong was extremely familiar with. Their physical bodies were withering at a speed visible to the naked eye. Before long, they would all become dried corpses like the mid-level Tao realm expert just now. Seeing that Su Fong had the ability to resist the sinful blood fire, they all cried out to Su Fong for help. Just a moment ago, they all saw Su Fong as their mortal enemy, but now they were asking Su Fong for help. It was somewhat ironic. However, Tao Master Han Su and the other senior members of the Tianming Haotsong sect didn't ask Su Fong for help. Instead, they shouted loudly towards the outside of the blood-red cage. First Supreme Elder, save me. Some of the Tianming Haotsong sect experts outside were about to help when the First Supreme Elder shouted coldly, "Are you trying to let Su Fong out? Everyone stop." Tao Master Han Su and the others all fell into despair. Including Tao Master Han Su, there were close to 10,000 cultivators from the Tianming Haotsong sect. The fact that the First Supreme Elder wanted them to be buried with Su Fong showed just how cruel his temperament was. Seeing that Su Fong was shackled in the cage and couldn't escape, the First Supreme Elder laughed gleefully and gloatingly. Su Fong, the heavens didn't give up on the Tianming Haotsong sect. You can't escape the fate of being suppressed. The heavens have eyes. With so many people buried with you, you could die a worthy death. Ha ha! If the Tianming Haotsong sect doesn't want to save you, I will. Take them all. Su Fong gritted his teeth and summoned his divine power, extending the divine power of the yin-yang world. The world that Su Fong formed could now cover 30,000 feet. The area that the blood-red cage covered was all within the range of the yin-yang world. Su Fong summoned his divine power and all the cultivators were sucked into the Jinlong world. Chi chi chi. Flames shot out from the blood-red cage and burned wildly. In an instant, the entire cage was engulfed in a sea of fire. Su Fang's divine power of the yin-yang world was rapidly being melted, and his own blood and qi were also being evaporated. You want to suppress Su Fang? It's not that easy. Su Fang shouted arrogantly, and an ancient mirror shot out from his mouth. The origin holy mirror. It had been a long time since he used the divine mirror to deal with an enemy. The main reason was that Su Fang's strength had increased, and he rarely used the origin holy mirror. In addition, when using the origin holy mirror, he had to lock the target in place so that he could release the Nine Suns primordial fire to suppress the target. There were many restrictions. In addition, Su Fang was worried that if this supreme divine weapon was exposed, it would be coveted by powerful cultivators and cause countless troubles. Therefore, he tried not to use it as much as possible. In this situation, Su Fang couldn't care less about hiding anything. In the face of the Azura's supreme divine power, if he didn't use the origin holy mirror now, he probably wouldn't have the chance to use it again. Once it was suppressed, he wouldn't be able to keep any treasures. Su Fang withdrew his divine power of the yin-yang world. While being enveloped by the divine power of the flames, he grabbed the divine mirror with both hands and channeled his Nine Suns primordial qi into the mirror. Qi, a ray of red light, shot out from the surface of the mirror, as if it was the light of the scorching sun. Chi chi chi. How domineering was the Nine Suns primordial fire. Su Fang's Nine Suns primordial fire already had the characteristics of a divine fire. In the outside world, there was no fire that could compete with it. However, compared to the Nine Suns primordial fire released by the mirror, the Nine Suns primordial fire wasn't even 1/10,000th of the Nine Suns primordial fire's power. One could imagine how terrifying the flames released by the divine mirror were. Although the Azura's sinful blood fire was strange and domineering, it wasn't on the same level as the Nine Suns primordial fire. As the divine mirror released the red light, the sinful blood fire enveloping Su Fang immediately disappeared. When the red light landed on the blood-colored cage, it immediately turned into the Nine Suns primordial fire. It quickly spread and burned wildly. Chi chi chi. Under the Nine Suns primordial fire's burning, the blood-colored flames turned into wisps of green smoke and dissipated. Soon, a large hole was burned in the blood-colored cage. Inside the blood jade, Luo was shocked. Extraordinary. Your divine weapon is extraordinary. It's too powerful. Seeing that Su Fang was about to break free, everyone outside was dumbfounded. Even the supreme divine power of the God Realm's experts couldn't shackle him. Who in the outside world could compete with him? At this time, the first Supreme Elder issued an order. Everyone, fill the hole even if you have to use your lives to do so. Don't let Su Fang out. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Tens of thousands of heavens mandate how Song sect cultivators rushed toward the hole without caring about anything else. They activated their Dao weapons and activated their divine powers to attack the hole. Inside the cage, divine weapon. I didn't expect a low-level cultivator from the outside world to have such an extraordinary divine weapon. A cold voice filled with surprise suddenly reverberated in the blood-colored cage. The Azura expert used the divine power to discover the extraordinariness of the origin sacred mirror. His voice was filled with greed. A divine weapon that can suppress the sinful blood fire is obviously not ordinary. What right does a lower realm cultivator have to possess such a divine weapon? It will be mine. Buzz, buzz, buzz. A blood-colored shadow appeared in the blood-colored cage and quickly became real. A murderous aura filled the air. Su Fang run. It's the Blood River Lord, an expert of my clan. He didn't hesitate to sacrifice his strength to send a slaughtered doppelganger down. The Blood River Lord is a renegade. He's Azura's senior expert. Even I wasn't his match back then. Even if I borrow your body, I won't be able to resist his slaughtered doppelganger. Luo loudly reminded Su Fang. He, who had always been calm and composed, was very anxious at this moment. Su Fang put away the origin sacred mirror. Just as he rushed out of the hole, his frantic attacks had sealed it. He had to activate the Origin's sacred mirror to burn another hole in the blood-colored cage. However, the Azura expert, the Blood River Lord, would descend in an instant. How could it be too late? At this critical moment, boom, an incomparably vast, silver-white Xian Guang suddenly erupted from the cultivators, bombarding the hole in the blood-colored cage. It formed a terrifying aura that swept in all directions and sent the surrounding cultivators flying. Next, a sailboat-shaped Dao weapon drew a dazzling triangular light and drilled into the blood-colored cage from the hole. A silver-white Xian Guang rolled out and wrapped around Su Fang. Xinjia Gate. Zhang Ruiyun, it's you. Chapter 1731. Su Fang couldn't be more familiar with the sailboat-shaped Dao artifact. What else could it be other than the Xinjia Gate? The owner of the Xinjia door was Zhang Ruiyun, 9 True, 9 Yang, Chapter 175. Su Fang allowed the silver-white Xian Guang to be sucked into the Xinjia Gate. Then, the Xinjia Gate erupted with an imposing aura. The silver-white light suddenly shot out in all directions, melting the entire interior of the cage. Flames burst out of the blood-red cage, forming an astonishing shackle that enveloped the Xinjia Gate and burned wildly, preventing it from leaving. The flames incinerated the silver-white light layer by layer. Chi! The Xinjia Gate trembled violently and let out a buzzing sound. It broke free from the shackles and flew away, leaving behind a silver-white Xian Guang flickering on the spot. In addition to suppressing experts, the Xinjia Gate's main ability was to travel through space. It could travel through the void of stars and even through several immortal domains. In order to save Su Fang this time, Zhang Ruiyun had already made careful preparations. She used the power of the Xinjia Gate as the source to create a rune talisman and placed it in a chaotic void outside the chaotic sky great world. After Zhang Ruiyun activated the Xinjia Gate, she could directly travel to the spatial coordinates of the rune talisman. The blood-red cage was burned into fragments by the nine-sun immortal fire, and its power was greatly reduced. After all, the Xinjia Gate was a top Dao artifact of the Great World, and its main ability was to travel through the void. After being activated by Zhang Ruiyun, the blood-red cage could no longer shackle it. The moment the Xinjia Gate disappeared, the blood-red shadow had already condensed into a man in blood-red clothes. At first glance, he looked somewhat similar to Law, but this person's face was old, and he had a pair of viper-like triangular eyes that flickered with a cold and sharp blood-red light. The Blood River Lord, a Dao artifact of the great world, can actually break through the shackles of my divine ability. I really underestimated the low-level existence of the great world. The Blood River Lord looked at the silver-white Xian Guang left behind by the Xinjia Gate, and his triangular eyes flashed with surprise. Then, he sneered disdainfully. Trash Azura King. I didn't hesitate to lose nearly a third of my strength, and spent countless resources to send a clone from the myriad realms with the help of a formation. How can I let you escape so easily? Then, the Blood River Lord's blood-red clothes, robes, long sleeve, and the blood-red cage turned into a blood-red light that was absorbed into his body. His originally blurry figure's body was, and his originally blurry figure became a bit more than before. The cultivators who were attacking the blood-colored cage saw the blood-colored cage disappear all of a sudden, only to be replaced by a blood-red figure. They were shocked, and they quickly stopped attacking. Even so, over 100 sword beams continued to shoot towards Sir Blood River like tidal waves. That the ST Kings? T then that B, his then his, S's, his S, Chi. There were over 1,000 cultivators attacking the blood-colored cage. A single glance from the Blood River Lord caused the blood energy within their bodies to roil uncontrollably before exploding. The bodies of the cultivators below the Dao realm exploded into a bloody mist. Although the Dao realm cultivators managed to preserve their lives, most of their blood chi was burned away. Some had wounds on their bodies due to the explosion of their blood chi, causing blood to spurt out. Whoosh! The Blood River Lord's body flashed with blood-red light as he entered the void. He followed the aura of the Shinja Gate and chased after it. At the periphery of the chaotic heaven great world, in a chaotic space-time, a triangular, silver-white Xian Guang suddenly lit up, tearing apart the shackles of the chaotic energy. Next, a massive sailboat-shaped Tao artifact appeared in the void. After the silvery white Xian Guang flashed, the figures of Su Fong and Zhang Riyun flashed out of the light. The Xinjia Gate quickly shrank and was absorbed into Zhang Ruoyun's body. Zhang Ruoyun, why are you here? You risked your life to save me. Su Fong was surprised and grateful for Zhang Ruoyun's appearance. If she hadn't appeared in time, he would have been in trouble. Zhang Riyun had used a lot of energy to activate the Xinjia Gate and break through the shackles of the blood-colored cage. Her face was abnormally pale and covered in a layer of cold sweat. She chuckled. You saved me in the small world. What's the big deal if I save you again? Aren't you afraid of bringing trouble to your master and the sect? Like the Lord of Five Poisons, I've been kicked out of the sect by my master. I can only follow you from now on. Zhang Ruoyun looked at Su Fong pitifully. She didn't look like the master of a peerless Tao artifact like the Xinjia Gate. Su Fong was touched. Just as he was about to speak, the Tao of Destiny flashed out of his divine aperture again and quickly condensed into the figure of an old man in blood-red clothes. At the same time, a layer of blood-red light appeared in the yin-yang vortex formed by the Tianyin mystic scripture. It was an omen of great danger. The Azura expert Blood River Lord can actually find me in the chaotic space-time. Su Fongdao was shocked. The chaotic space-time outside the chaotic heaven great world was created by the natural forces of heaven and earth. It could block and distort the senses of cultivators. Even Su Fong's great perfection ability was restricted. He didn't expect this Azura expert to be able to capture Su Fong so easily. Law's voice came from the blood jade in the time cavern. The abilities of the true experts of the God realm are not something you can imagine. If you leave this place and the clone of the Blood River Lord catches up to you, you won't be able to escape. Even if I borrow your body, it will be difficult to kill him. Zhang Riyun, the experts of the God realm, are coming. It will be very dangerous for you to follow me. You should use the Xinjia Gate to leave. The target of the Blood River Lord was Law. Zhang Riyun could use the Xinjia Gate to leave easily. There was no need for her to take the risk with Su Fong. Zhang Riyun's eyes were red. Su Fong, I have already left Master and the gluttonous immortal sect. I have no home now. Where can I go? I will put you into my magic treasure world first. Don't resist. Su Fong activated the magic treasure world of the Jinlong world and wrapped Zhang Ruoyun in it. At this moment, Su Fong appeared. Zhang Riyun's eyes flashed with a hint of pride. She didn't look as pitiful as before. This girl has grown up. She is no longer the naive girl from the small world. Su Fong sighed in his heart and put Zhang Ruoyun into the Jinlong world. Law said, this girl is infatuated with you. How much courage did she need to risk her life to save you? If you fail to live up to her feelings, then you are worse than a beast. I already have Xuanxin in my heart. How can I tolerate another woman? Su Fong released the green feather demon emperor as he responded to Law. He planned to use his talent to quickly leave this place. Then why didn't you think of Xuanxin when you were doing it with Huang Lingyao? Su Fong had just jumped onto the back of the green feather demon emperor when he heard Law's words. He staggered and was so angry that he almost spat out blood again. Whoosh! The green feathered demon emperor, who had turned into a green rock, flapped his wings and set off a spatial storm, forming a huge vortex. Then, he disappeared into the vortex. Before the spatial vortex returned to its original state, the Blood River Lord walked out of the chaotic void. Ant of the great world, how dare you try to escape from me? The Blood River Lord sneered disdainfully. His figure flashed, and he entered the spatial vortex. With the green feather demon emperor's current strength, he could use the talent of the rock race. With a flap of his wings, he could travel 100,000 miles in an instant. In this chaotic space where even peak Tao realm experts did not dare to travel, he was like a fish swimming in the sea. In just a few breaths, Whoosh! The green feather demon emperor emerged from the chaotic void. Buzz, buzz, buzz. In the depths of Su Fong's divine aperture, the Destiny Tao text of the heavenly secret life shrinking technique exploded again. The Blood River Lord is chasing after me. With the green feathered demon emperor's speed, it's impossible to shake him off. What should I do? Su Fong was extremely anxious. He could not think of a good idea at the moment. He immediately activated the heavenly secret life shrinking technique. With the ability of the heavenly secret life shrinking technique to mask his aura, a divine power of destiny covered himself and the green feathered demon emperor's body. Then, the green feathered demon emperor flew across the sky toward the material plane of the chaotic sky great world. In just 5 or 6 breaths, the Blood River Lord slowly flew out of the chaotic space. He was calm and even looked like a cat playing with a mouse. A bloody light flashed in the Blood River Lord's eyes. He looked surprised. Huh? The aura of this great world ant has disappeared into thin air. Then a bloody light shot out his eyes. It was as if he could see everything in the great world. However, he still could not sense Su Fong's aura. The Blood River Lord's expression changed from surprise to disbelief. There seems to be an invisible force that has masked this person's aura. Even my sensing ability has been masked. I have never heard of such a divine power in the great worlds. It's unbelievable. However, if you want to escape my senses, you'll have to flee to the great worlds. The Blood River Lord smiled disdainfully and closed his eyes. A moment later, I've finally found you. The Blood River Lord smiled coldly and disappeared into the void. The green feather demon emperor instantly arrived above an immortal realm. Buzz, buzz, buzz. The Tao runes of destiny kept flashing, but they still could not shake off the Blood River Lord. Su Fong, although your ability to mask the aura of destiny is extremely powerful and can mask the senses of immortal realm experts, when this big goblin of the Rock Clan uses its innate ability, it will cause the natural energy of heaven and earth to fluctuate. With these minute fluctuations, the Blood River Lord can still find you. Do I have to find a place to stay? That way, there won't be any fluctuations of heaven and earth energy. That won't work. Although you can mask your aura, there will always be minute changes in heaven and earth because of your existence. These changes can't be detected by demigods, but they can't be hidden from immortal realm experts. Then what should I do? The Blood River Lord's target is me, not you. If I come out to stop him, you can take the opportunity to escape. He won't chase you across the entire great world. Su Fong said resolutely. Absolutely not. Chapter 1732. But I am different. Jiuzhen Jiang Chapter 1751. They can shackle my primordial spirit, but they can't kill it. At most, they can reseal it. I believe in your talent and ability. It won't be long before you can ascend to the outside world. One day, you will become a peerless expert in the God realm. At that time, you can try to rescue me. I'll just have to stay in the Crimson Cage for a little longer. Law's tone was unprecedentedly resolute. Absolutely not. Once you're resealed, there's almost no hope of saving you. Su Fong's tone was also very resolute. This was the first time he argued with Luo Sheng. Suddenly, Second Primordial Spirit's cold voice sounded. Primordial Spirit, there's a way we can try. Su Fong's spirit rose. Second Primordial Spirit, you have a way to escape the pursuit of the God realm, experts? What is it? Tell me. It's simple. Leave this place and go to the ancient immortal demon battlefield. Su Fong felt like a bucket of ice water was poured on his head. He was immediately disappointed. It's already so urgent. How can we still have time to go to the ancient immortal demon battlefield? Law sighed. It's possible to escape the Blood River Lord's pursuit in the ancient immortal demon battlefield. But how can we go to the ancient immortal demon battlefield? Second Primordial Spirit's tone was still cold, without a trace of emotion. Primordial Spirit, have you forgotten how Qi Yinzi came to the chaotic sky, great world from the ancient immortal demon battlefield? Su Fong couldn't help but be startled. The next moment, Su Fong was in high spirits. Qi Yinzi obtained the inheritance of an ancient immortal and found the location of an ancient teleportation formation. Then he used the ancient teleportation formation to go directly from the immortal domain where the square heaven great world was located to the ancient immortal devil battlefield. Chapter 1751, 9 True, 9 Sons. When he returned from the ancient immortal demon battlefield, Qi Yinzi couldn't return to the desolate immortal domain as he wished due to the long time. Instead, he came to the chaotic sky great world through another space passage. Since Qi Yinzi could come to the chaotic sky great world from the ancient immortal demon battlefield, why couldn't he use the teleportation formation to return to the ancient immortal demon battlefield? Su Fong immediately left the young immortal and came to the true dragon realm. Brother Su, I found a magic treasure fragment. I'll leave it to you. Previously, his second primordial spirit had accompanied Qi Yinzi to retrieve the Dharma treasure fragment that was suspected to be a fragment of the Dharma treasure. After returning, Su Fong was engaged in a fierce battle with ancestor Tian Ming and Sang Han, so he didn't have time to check it out. When Qi Yinzi saw Su Fong, he thought that Su Fong was here for the magic treasure fragment. Without hesitation, he took it out and handed it to Su Fong. It was a palm-sized bronze fragment with mysterious patterns on it. It looked ordinary, but it emitted an ethereal and mysterious aura. Su Fong did not have time to examine it carefully. He directly used the power of the magic treasure of the true dragon world to send the magic treasure fragment into the time cave abode in the depths of his physical body. He handed it over to Yu Miaomei for her to study. Brother Qi, I'm not here for the magic treasure fragments. Let me ask you, when you came to the chaotic heaven great world from the ancient battlefield of immortals and demons, is that ancient teleportation formation still there? If it's still there, can you reverse the teleportation and return to the ancient immortal demon battlefield? Su Fong asked worriedly. If the teleportation formation was no longer there, or if it was just a one-way teleportation formation, then it would be quite dangerous. Of course, I have to protect such an important formation. Before I left, I deliberately memorized the spatial coordinates and carefully concealed the teleportation formation. Plus, the teleportation formation is located in the chaotic space-time. No one will find it. Even if someone finds it, they won't destroy it, Qi Yinzi said. Then, Qi Yinzi continued. In the ancient era, the chaotic heaven great world, and even the so-called central immortal domain, were undeveloped wilderness. The ancient experts created these teleportation formations in order to come to the wilderness to hunt some exotic beasts and collect treasures of heaven and earth. In the end, they still have to return. Naturally, the teleportation formations built are not one way. Su Fong was overjoyed. That's great. Brother Qi, give me the spatial coordinates of the teleportation formation. Brother Su, are you planning to go to the ancient battlefield of immortals and demons? Qi Yinzi was also pleasantly surprised. I'm being hunted down by the experts of the God Realm. I must use the teleportation formation to leave the chaotic heaven great world and go to the ancient battlefield of immortals and demons. Qi Yinzi's divine light suddenly changed. He condensed the spatial coordinates of the ancient teleportation formation into a jade slip and handed it to Su Fong. Senior, go to these spatial coordinates immediately. Su Fong sent the jade slip to the green feathered demon emperor. Buzz, buzz. The Tao runes of destiny and the true runes of the unraveling of heaven's descent grew louder and louder, indicating that the Blood River Lord was not far away. Blood River Lord, you're really haunting me like a ghost. Su Fong clenched his teeth and immediately condensed 2 blood-water doppelgangers in his body. Then, he and the 2 blood-water doppelgangers flew in different directions. With the Blood River Lord's speed, he would catch up to Su Fong before he sensed the location of the ancient teleportation formation. Therefore, Su Fong decided to go all out. He planned to sacrifice the 2 blood-water doppelgangers to distract the Blood River Lord and buy some time. Even if the 2 blood-water doppelgangers were killed by the Blood River Lord, Su Fong would only lose some blood chi. It would not take long for him to replenish it. He no longer concealed his aura. Instead, he suppressed his aura to the same level as the blood-water doppelgangers. Whoosh! The Blood River Lord broke through the air. He still looked calm and composed, like a cat playing with a mouse. However, the next moment, the Blood River Lord raised his eyebrows. There are actually 3 identical auras? There's actually such a unique Tao of doppelgangers in the great world that can cultivate their auras to be exactly the same? Even if you can create thousands of clones, you won't be able to escape from me. It's just a little more trouble. Since that's the case, I'll play with you. The Blood River Lord smiled indifferently. Then, he once again merged into the void and chased after Su Fong. About 20 breaths later, Su Fong appeared at the edge of the chaotic heaven great world. At this moment, his body suddenly trembled. His face paled slightly. One of the blood-water doppelgangers was killed. The Blood River Lord is so fast. Su Fong was secretly shocked. He did not dare to delay for even a moment. He immediately plunged into the chaotic space-time created by the power of nature. After about half an incense stick's worth of time, the other blood-water doppelganger was also killed. The Fate Tao runes of the Heavenly Fate Life, Shrinking Technique, and the Heavenly Birth Mystic True runes became more and more active. After killing Su Fong's 2 blood-water doppelgangers, the Blood River Lord went straight for the main body. Senior, it's all up to you. Su Fong once again released the Green Feather Demonic Emperor. In the chaotic space-time, the Green Feather Demonic Emperor used all his innate abilities. Even a demigod expert was no match for him. Don't worry. The Green Feather Demonic Emperor also knew the severity of the situation. Once the Azura expert caught up with them, not only Su Fong, but everyone would not be able to escape. The Green Feather Demonic Emperor, who had transformed into the Green Rock, spat out a feather with mysterious golden patterns. It emitted an extremely powerful aura. Then the Green Feather Demonic Emperor breathed out a demonic chi. The feather instantly ignited. A green divine light instantly enveloped the Green Feather Demonic Emperor's huge body. Boom! The Green Feather Demonic Emperor flapped his wings. A divine aura burst out, making him even faster than light. Time and space were distorted by this supreme, divine aura. This feather had an extraordinary origin. It was a feather shed from the body of a big goblin of the demonic realm when he broke through the peak of demonic saint and became a demonic immortal. It contained the power of a demonic immortal. The Green Feather Demonic Emperor was brought to the demonic realm and was nurtured by demonic Saint Qingwan. Even the feather left behind by the demonic immortal of the Rock Clan was given to him. Not only could he use it to save his life at a critical moment, but he could also comprehend the powerful innate abilities of the Rock Clan from it. Previously, when the Green Feather Demonic Emperor was being hunted by the Tianming Hao Tsang sex experts, especially the extremely powerful cloud-piercing black-feathered eagle, when his life was hanging by a thread, he was unwilling to use this feather. Now, in order to escape the pursuit of the Blood River Lord, the Green Feather Demonic Emperor took out his final trump card. Whoosh! In a chaotic abyss, countless star fragments and ruins were floating. After a flash of green light, the Green Feather Demonic Emperor appeared on a 1,000-mile-long star fragment. The Green Feather Demonic Emperor's feathers were falling off everywhere. His body was also shattered. Although traveling through the void with the help of the demonic immortal's power was unbelievably fast, surpassing the limits of time and space, the Green Feather Demonic Emperor was not even a demonic saint. His body could not withstand it and was now in a severely injured state. Su Fong came out of the Green Feather Demonic Emperor's stomach. At this moment, this time, it was not the life shrinking technique or the heavenly divination mystic unravel. Instead, it was the great perfection ability that sensed that the Azura Blood River Lord's clone was less than 10,000 miles away. Let's go. The Green Feather Demonic Emperor flapped his wings with difficulty, sweeping up a surge of spatial power and bringing Su Fong to the center of the star fragment. An ancient teleportation array appeared in front of them. Poof! The Green Feather Demonic Emperor could not withstand it and fell to the ground. Su Fongdao was shocked and hurriedly put the green-feathered demonic emperor into the true dragon realm. Bai Ling immediately sent over a king-grade yin-yang immortal sky pill and a ball of energy containing life essence to help the green-feathered demonic emperor recover. Su Fong came to the ancient teleportation array and quickly took out immortal stones and placed them in the grooves of the teleportation array. Just as Su Fong was about to make a seal to activate the teleportation array, a crimson-robed figure appeared at the edge of the star fragment. A low-level existence from a great world. You're not slow at all. You almost slipped away from me. Teleportation formation? The Blood River Lord's expression changed slightly when he saw Su Fong in the ancient teleportation array. Even a God Realm expert could not do as he pleased in the great world. If Su Fong was teleported to some distant space, it would be very difficult for the Blood River Lord to find Su Fong. Too bad you won't have the chance to activate the teleportation array. Die. After killing you, the crippled king of my clan will be sealed again. Chapter 1733. Boom. Under the terrifying pressure of the Blood River Lord, the blood in Su Fong's body seemed to be boiling. Wisps of blood condensed into blood vessels that crazily drilled out from under his skin. His eyes were bloodshot and turned into a pair of blood-red eyes, looking very frightening. Although he was facing a slaughtered doppelganger of the Blood River Lord, the divine power released by this peerless expert of the Azura clan casually made Su Fong feel like a small boat in a stormy sea, about to be mercilessly smashed into pieces by the huge waves. The gap between the two was really too big, like the gap between a mortal and an immortal. It was completely beyond the limits of what Su Fong could bear. A low-level existence from the great world is quite extraordinary. To be able to help my clan's crippled king gather the blood jade, even Sang-Han can't do anything to you. The Blood River Lord looked like a cat that had caught a mouse in its claws, his eyes full of ridicule. Then, a blood-red light flashed in his blood-red eyes, revealing a look of pleasant surprise. You actually have a perfect physical body? This is rare even in the God realm, and it contains such astonishing yang energy. If I devour your physical body, my cultivation that has been stagnant for many years might improve a little. Not bad at all. This time, not only can I reseal the crippled king's primordial spirit, but I can also obtain a perfect physical body full of yang energy. I also unexpectedly obtained an extremely extraordinary divine weapon, enough to make up for the cultivation that I lost in this trip to the lower realm. The Blood River Lord looked at Su Fong, not as if he was looking at a living person or a corpse, but as if he was a rare treasure. His eyes were full of coldness. Suddenly, from Su Fong's body came a cold shout. "Traitor! You're too early to be proud." Chi, chi, chi. From Su Fong's eyes, streaks of blood-red sword chi suddenly burst out, intertwining into a blood-red curtain of light, tearing apart the Blood River Lord's shackles and sweeping towards the Blood River Lord. Trash King, back then, when you were still powerful and your body and soul had not been separated, you were not my opponent. Right now, I have only sent a slaughter clone, and its strength is not even 1/100th of my original body. How can your soul threaten me? The Blood River Lord was very disdainful. After laughing coldly, his forehead suddenly split open, forming a bloody eye. An astonishing blood fiend burst out from it, burning into blood-red flames, and burned Law's sword chi into ashes. However, the Blood River Lord was also forced to retreat more than 20 feet, and the shackles that shackled Su Fong's body also disappeared. The Blood River Lord's primordial spirit attack. In the blink of an eye, Su Fong took out the immortal slaughtering bow, and after activating it, a dragon shadow arrow tore through space, carrying a monstrous killing aura, and shot towards the Blood River Lord. Unexpectedly, the Blood River Lord only raised his right hand, stretched out his index finger, and tapped the arrow. A blood-red light flashed on his finger, and the dragon shadow arrow was shattered, turning into nothingness. A low-level existence. No divine ability in the outside world can pose any threat to me. Just obediently become my cultivation material. The Blood River Lord shook his head and sneered, then grabbed at Su Fong in the air. The immortal slaughtering bow in Su Fong's hand flew out of his control, and with a whoosh, it flew into the Blood River Lord's hand. Then, the sinful blood fire burned in his palm, and he was about to destroy the immortal slaughtering bow. At this moment, Su Fong's eyes flashed with ruthlessness, and the corners of his mouth curled up into a mocking smile. Boom! A mysterious purple aura emanated from Su Fong's body, and with it came an unparalleled divine power that allowed him to control magic treasures. No matter how strong a god is, I don't believe that even the self-explosion of one of the 10 great Tao artifacts, the immortal slaughtering bow, can't threaten you. Su Fong decisively activated the immortal slaughtering bow, and the array inside shook, then collapsed layer by layer, as if a world was collapsing. The terrifying divine power of the self-explosion exploded from the immortal slaughtering bow. The Blood River Lord's expression changed slightly, and the sinful blood fire in his palm suddenly became fiercer, trying to suppress the self-explosion of the immortal slaughtering bow. Boom! With a muffled sound, the immortal slaughtering bow exploded. After all, the immortal slaughtering bow was one of the 10 great Tao artifacts of the outside world, and its self-explosion was terrifying. Although the Blood River Lord had suppressed the power of the explosion to a minimum, it still shook the Blood River Lord's blood-red robes, and his right hand was blown to smithereens. Chi, chi, chi. The wound on the Blood River Lord's wrist spurted out a mist of blood, which then condensed into flesh and blood. After squirming for a while, it quickly formed a new palm. However, the Blood River Lord's aura had become slightly weaker. Clearly, he had consumed a significant amount of his cultivation base and life force. You actually dared to injure this lord. This lord will use the cruelest punishment of the Azura to torture you and make you regret ever being born into this world. The Blood River Lord's deep eyes exuded coldness, revealing a sharp, killing intent. You won't have a chance. Sooner or later, not only will I kill this clone of yours, I will even kill your true self. Su Fong revealed a sinister smile. He released the immortal demon monster from his body and formed a seal to activate the ancient teleportation array. If I let a lowly existence like you escape from under my nose, where'd I put my face? How could the Blood River Lord watch as Su Fong escaped? Just as he was about to attack, an ethereal light suddenly burst forth from Su Fong's eyes and landed on the Blood River Lord's body. The creation of destiny, the master of heaven's secrets. If I am destroyed, everything will be shattered. Lightning of destiny. In this moment of life and death, Su Fong no longer cared about any losses. He activated the life-shrinking technique and used the lightning of destiny to suppress the Blood River Lord's destiny. The Blood River Lord sensed a soundless rumble of thunder from the unseen world, and a great sense of danger descended upon him. The Blood River Lord's heart surged with perilous waves. In the blink of an eye, the Blood River Lord thought of countless peerless abilities, but none of them could dispel this unseen danger. The Blood River Lord's expression changed in shock. His previous expression of a cat toying with a mouse had completely disappeared. Rumble. The soundless lightning of destiny viciously bombarded the Blood River Lord's body. A terrifying power that could obliterate destiny threatened to obliterate his physical body, primordial spirit, and everything related to destiny. As expected of an expert of the Azura race in the myriad worlds, the Blood River Lord's face paled after being suppressed by Su Fong's lightning of destiny. His aura withered once more, as if he had been struck by an invisible force, and he was forced to retreat. Then he looked at Su Fong. His hair had turned snowy white, and his face had turned into that of an old man in his 60s or 70s. He trembled as if he could die at any moment. Using the life-shrinking technique on a god to suppress his destiny had cost Su Fong far more than any other expert he had used it on before. He had lost so much of his lifespan that he was on the verge of death. The losses this time were simply too great. His two Bloodwater clones had even destroyed one of the 10 great Tao artifacts, the immortal slaughtering bow. Now he had lost so much of his lifespan. Buzz, buzz, buzz. The immortal demon monster had already activated the ancient teleportation array. After a violent tremor, a powerful spatial distortion erupted, and Su Fong and the immortal demon monster disappeared from where they stood. Damn it to the extreme. This clone of mine actually used up nearly half of my cultivation and life force. The Blood River Lord was enraged. A strong, murderous aura swept out in all directions. The star fragment beneath him was reduced to dust, and the ancient teleportation array vanished without a trace. How could the Blood River Lord not be enraged when he had allowed a cultivator from a greater world to calmly escape from right under his nose after being repeatedly injured? Now, wanting to find Su Fong again would not be such an easy matter. Su Fong was secondary. The main thing was that Luo was an important figure that concerned the entire Azura race. In addition to his anger, the Blood River Lord was also a little alarmed. Su Fong's supreme divine ability not only caused considerable damage to his clone, but also to his true body. "Aunt, you've angered me. I'll make you regret ever being born into this world." The Blood River Lord's eyes exuded a cold, bloody light. Occasionally, a bolt of lightning would flash across the vast expanse of heaven and earth. The rumbling of thunder shook the heavens and earth. Countless objects floated in the void, some as large as a world of immortals. From time to time, chaotic and violent natural energy of heaven and earth would form storms that swept across heaven and earth. Faint sounds of killing could be heard from within. War drums thundered, and waves of slaughter filled heaven and earth with a somber aura, as if they had arrived at a boundless battlefield. Winged big goblins exuding murderous auras, as well as resurrected big goblins that exuded a monstrous aura of death, whizzed through the air above the objects, adding a sense of death and violence to the somber battlefield. There was a 10,000-kilometer-long floating object. A 10,000-meter-long resurrected primordial dragon flew across the sky, blotting out the sun and sky. There were 2 human cultivators draped in beast hides on the object. When they saw the resurrected primordial dragon, they hurriedly used their flying swords to forcefully carve out a path through the mountain. When they arrived at a cave in the mountain, they heaved a long sigh of relief. It's a spatial formation, and an ancient transportation formation at that. One of them had a hideous scar on his face. His cultivation base was at the 5 Tao Saint Celestial stage. He immediately saw an ancient transportation formation at the center of the cave. An ancient transportation formation? If the damage isn't too serious, then we brothers are going to be rich. Oh? The other cultivator with fair skin and a similar cultivation base to the one with the scar on his face lit up with desire when he saw the ancient transportation formation. Buzz, buzz, buzz. At this moment, there was a huge commotion from the transportation formation. A wave of spatial divine might swept out, releasing a distorted rainbow light. 2 figures within the formation quickly turned from blurry to clear. Someone's teleported here through the ancient transportation formation. The 2 cultivators were shocked. Chapter 1734. We actually met 2 fat sheep. Our brother's luck is really too good to defy the heavens. Jiuzhen Jiang Chapter 1753. The cultivator with a scar laughed wildly. He activated a battle axe Tao artifact and slashed at the teleportation formation with a terrifying aura. Those who can teleport here through the ancient teleportation formation must be fat sheep. If we destroy the teleportation formation before it's completed, even immortal venerables will be severely injured. In this way, everything on these 2 people will belong to us. The fair-skinned cultivator made a hand seal and released a sword chi to attack the teleportation formation. Boom! The 7-colored light shook violently. Before the teleportation was completed, the 2 figures in the formation were thrown out by the chaotic force of space and fell to the ground. One of them was an old man with white hair and a weak aura. When he got up from the ground, he could not help but spit out a mouthful of blood. His aura was extremely weak. The other was a black-clothed young cultivator. His aura was empty, and he had a cold temperament. 9 True, 9 Yang, chapter 1753. Hand over your storage rings obediently, and I might spare your lives. At most, I'll sell you to the slave market. The cultivator with a scar, laughed sinisterly and walked to the side of the 2 cultivators who had just been teleported. Be careful, Scar. The fair-skinned cultivator's eyesight was extraordinary. He could see that the cultivator in black was not ordinary. After the teleportation formation was destroyed, he came out as if nothing had happened. He immediately warned the cultivator with a scar. You're courting death, the young cultivator in black said coldly. He stretched out his hand and grabbed the air. A strange force of true chi and demon chi fused together and condensed into a claw that shackled the body of the cultivator with a scar. The cultivator with the scar had caught 2 fat sheep. Who would have thought that he would encounter 2 ferocious tigers? He was scared out of his wits. Spare my life. The cultivator with the scar had just opened his mouth to beg for mercy when he was crushed by the majestic yin-yang immortal demon force. The fair-skinned cultivator reacted quickly and had already escaped from the cave. Die! A black Xian Guang shot out from the forehead of the young cultivator in black and entered the divine aperture of the fair-skinned cultivator from the back of his head. A moment later, the black Xian Guang shot out from the white and clear cultivator's divine aperture and returned to the black-robed young cultivator's body. However, the white and clear cultivator was like a dead man, standing there motionlessly. Second primordial spirit, destroy the teleportation array. The white-haired old man said in a trembling voice. This so-called white-haired old man was Su Fong, who had overused his life force. He had used the thunder of destiny to attack the Blood River Lord, which had consumed a large amount of his life force. As a result, he had turned into an old man. Just now, the teleportation had been interrupted before it could complete, and he had been attacked by the power of space, which made things even worse. The black-robed young cultivator was none other than the body of the immortal fiend monster that his second nascent divinity resided in. Those 2 cultivators had actually set their sights on Su Fong and the immortal and devil monster. They were truly unlucky. After the immortal and devil monster destroyed the teleportation array, Su Fong sat down with difficulty and merged all the blood and water clones he had left in the cavern of time to cultivate with his body. Only then did he recover some of his spirit and life force and struggle back from the brink of death. The loss of life force wasn't the same as physical injuries. Once it reached the limit of what Su Fong could bear, he would die even if he had heaven-defying means. The only way was to revive with the help of the blood and water clones. In this way, Su Fong's strength would be severely damaged and he would fall many levels. After entering the cavern of time, Su Fong immediately formed a seal and transformed into the Netherblood Sea, which began to devour forefather Tianming's body. Su Fong, who had been severely injured by Azura Sanghan's self-detonation, borrowed the life essence of forefather Tianming's body to quickly recover to his peak. Only then did Su Fong devour 20 to 30% of forefather Tianming's body. At this time, forefather Tianming's body had once again become a life-saving resource for Su Fong. If he knew in the underworld, he would feel extremely honored. 3 months passed in the Cavern of Time. The originally dead Netherblood Sea gradually burned with the flame of life. Only then did Su Fong transmit a thought to his second primordial spirit. Second primordial spirit, have you arrived at the ancient immortal and devil battlefield? Why did those 2 cultivators attack the teleportation array? From a memory of that fair-skinned cultivator, I can confirm that this is a corner of the ancient immortal and devil battlefield. As for why those 2 cultivators attacked the teleportation array, in that cultivator's memory, this kind of killing and robbing was a very common thing in the ancient immortal and devil battlefield. It was as common as drinking water and eating, killing and robbing without saying anything. I didn't expect the cultivators of the ancient immortal and devil battlefield to be so fierce. Su Fong was taken aback and had his second primordial spirit transmit the stripped memories of the fair-skinned cultivator to him. After some interpretation, Su Fong was shocked. The ancient immortal and devil battlefield was definitely not what he had imagined. The ancient immortal and devil battlefield that Su Fong had imagined was a vast and boundless material continent. It was the battlefield of countless battles between the immortal Tao world and the devil race in the ancient times. However, this was not the case. From the fair-skinned cultivator's memory, Su Fong learned that the ancient immortal and devil battlefield was actually made up of countless planes divided by the natural forces of heaven and earth. They were like immortal realms. There were more than 300 material planes that were slightly larger. There were also countless other planes that had been created because of the imbalance in the natural energies of heaven and earth, or because of the collapse of space during the immortal devil Great War between the immortal Tao and the devil tribe. In addition, the ancient immortal and devil battlefield was not filled with resurrected experts. The 300 or so larger material planes were respectively occupied by cultivators, demons, monsters, and resurrected experts. Most of the cultivators and demons were the descendants of humans and demons from ancient times. Many of them had disappeared in the long river of history. They could still be found among the cultivators of the ancient immortal and devil battlefield, but they had withered and lost their former glory. As for the big goblin, most of them were the descendants of ancient fierce beasts and strange beasts. There were even many powerful big goblins with divine beast bloodlines. They occupied many material planes. The ancient immortal and devil battlefield was originally divided into 3 parts by humans, demons, and monsters. With the changes of heaven and earth, countless fallen experts were resurrected. They attacked other races without a target at first, but later they slowly formed a powerful and evil force and became the number 1 force on the ancient immortal and devil battlefield. There were often large-scale wars between these 4 forces, especially the resurrected experts. The material planes that they had occupied over the years were more than that of the humans, demons, and monsters combined. The human cultivators were the weakest force on the ancient immortal and devil battlefield. They occupied the least material planes and were poor in resources. It was very difficult for them to survive. In the ancient immortal and devil battlefield, there were no sects or forces. Instead, there were some families and cultivation forces. Very few of these families were passed down from ancient times. They gradually grew through generations of fighting. Those weak families had no choice but to rely on those big families. They even had to change their surnames and become slaves of those big families. Due to the special environment, the weak were prey to the strong among human cultivators. The attack on Su Fong was not a big deal in the ancient immortal and devil battlefield. It was too common. In the ancient immortal and devil battlefield, there were countless treasures and inheritances from ancient times that were lost in the outer space. There were also many places where natural treasures that had long been lost in the immortal Tao world grew. Therefore, the ancient immortal and devil battlefield was an incomparably dangerous battlefield ruins. It was also a land of treasures that attracted many immortal Tao experts to the ancient immortal and devil battlefield to search for treasures. There were also many fugitives who could not establish a foothold in the immortal Tao world. They were hunted by immortal Tao forces and finally took refuge in the ancient immortal and devil battlefield. It was very difficult for foreign cultivators to survive in the ancient immortal and devil battlefield alone. They had no choice but to join some families and cultivation forces. When Shi Yinzi came to the ancient immortal and devil battlefield, he joined a medium-sized family and cultivation force of the human race. The material plane Su Fong was in was called the Incineration Blaze region. It was named after the magma that flooded the material plane. There were hundreds of families and forces in the Incineration Blaze region. Most of them focused on refining weapons. Their cultivation methods and divine abilities were also fire-based. The fair-skinned cultivator and the scar cultivator were cultivators from a mid-tier cultivation force in the Incineration Flame region. Their strength was considered extraordinary in the primordial battlefield of the immortals and devils. Their cultivation bases were at the five Tao, saint, immortal realm, and they were celestial lords. However, Su Fong could not obtain much useful information from the fair-skinned cultivator's memories. The ancient immortal and devil battlefield was just too big. The fair-skinned cultivator's strength was limited to the incineration blaze region. He did not know much about other planes. The chances of finding the whereabouts of the 10,000 manifestations Dharma in such a big, ancient, immortal, and devil battlefield are too slim. Yu Miaomei had already determined that the magic treasure fragment that Qi Yinzi had obtained was a part of the 10,000 manifestations Dharma. She did not know why the 10,000 manifestations Dharma shattered and how many pieces it had broken into. It was easy to imagine how difficult it would be to find them. At this moment, Luo passed through the formation and arrived at Su Fong's cultivation room in the Cavern of Time. Luo said sheepishly, "Su Fong, I've implicated you this time." "Thank you." Su Fong smiled faintly. "The Blood River lore has discovered some clues about the origin sacred mirror. Even if it wasn't for you, he would definitely not let me go for the divine mirror. The Blood River Lord is determined to get me. You were lucky enough to escape from him and even injured him. With his vengeful personality, he would not let you go even if he had to search to the ends of the earth. He will come to the ancient immortal and devil battlefield sooner or later. Therefore, the danger has not been eliminated. You must be prepared." Su Fong thought for a while. Chapter 1735. The 54th Yang vein was extremely important to Su Fong. It was extremely difficult to form this Yang vein. 9 Truths, 9 Suns, Chapter 1754. After the 9 Suns, 9 transformations reached the 5th transformation, it became extremely difficult to form a new Yang vein. Not only did it take longer to cultivate, but it also required vast amounts of Yang Qi. When Su Fong cultivated the 9 Suns, 9 transformations, he faintly felt that he was being rejected by the heavenly Tao after reaching the 5th transformation. This was because the 9 Suns, 9 transformations was too heaven-defying. It could even form a godhead. Naturally, it would be rejected by the heavenly Tao of the outside world. 9 Truths, 9 Suns, Chapter 1754. Otherwise, with Su Fong's strength at that time, the heavenly Tao of the outside world would tremble under Su Fong's feet. It would not be able to shackle or restrain Su Fong. To form the 54th Yang vein, it would take a very long time. The opportunity and fortune required would also be extraordinary. It was not something that could be achieved by secluded cultivation. The Blood River Lord is a peerless expert of the Azura clan. Although the ancient immortal demon battlefield is huge, it would not be difficult for him to find me. Before the 9 Suns, 9 transformations reaches the 6th transformation, and I have the absolute strength to kill the Blood River Lord Slaughter Avatar, I cannot be discovered by the Blood River Lord. First, I will change my appearance and identity, conceal my aura, and try to gain a foothold in the ancient immortal demon battlefield. Then, I will try to find a fortuitous encounter. There are so many treasures in the ancient immortal demon battlefield. I don't believe that I can't find a fortune to form the 54th Yang vein. When my 54th Yang vein is formed, it will be the time for me to kill the Blood River Lord. As for Wanxiang Dharma, I can slowly search for it. It doesn't matter if I can't find it. Su Fong thought for a while and finally made a decision. After hearing Su Fong's plan, Lon nodded and said, "In the face of absolute strength, temporarily enduring for a period of time is a good plan. As a peak expert of the outside world, you have to pretend to be a weakling during this period. I'm afraid that you will be humiliated and unable to endure. Once your strength is exposed, the Blood River Lord may find out and bring you a fatal disaster. I am originally a cultivator of a small world. What kind of humiliation have I not endured? I can make use of this experience to temper my Tao heart. It can be considered as a form of training. I am relieved that you think so. That's right. You're growing too fast, but it's not without its drawbacks. It's a good thing that you can settle down and cultivate." Thus, Su Fong settled down in the Cavern of Time and Space, using the Yellow Springs Blood Sea to devour forefather Tieming's body and recover his life force. The consumption of life force this time was too severe. In order to avoid leaving behind any sequelae, Su Fong stayed in the Time Cave for 300 years. During this time, Su Fong also separated himself from the young immortal and communicated with Zhang Ruyun. Zhang Ruyun was no longer the naive and shy girl from the small world. She did not hide her love for Su Fong, which gave Su Fong a headache. The big goblin subordinates and experts were also in a state of cultivation. Unfortunately, the sky's sacred ground was destroyed, and only the Sky Thunder Palace was left. The 10 rooms full of spirit chi and the spirit pool in the Sky Thunder Palace were temporarily useless. Fortunately, they had obtained Mother Yun's inheritance and countless resources. It was enough for Su Fong's subordinates to consume for a long time. Gue was also crazily devouring the corpses of the 9 demonic beasts possessed by Ming Yan. Once all of them were devoured, Gue would become Su Fong's most powerful and terrifying existence. Even the undead lord would not be a match for her. Su Fong's father, family Su Yaotian, as well as his friends and cultivators in the small world, all lived in the true dragon realm. Su Fong's blood clone accompanied his father. Whoosh! On this day, Su Fong's main body ended his cultivation. He left his blood clones in the Cave of Time to cultivate various cultivation techniques and abilities. His main body walked out of the cave. Seeing the immortal demon battlefield for the first time, Su Fong was deeply shocked. Then, Su Fong activated his great perfection ability to sense the power of the immortal demon battlefield. He found that the energy of heaven and earth here was chaotic and violent. It also had an ancient aura, which was very different from the other immortal domains in the great world. From the power of the immortal demon battlefield's power of the immortal demon battlefield, Su Fong also sensed a kind of power of nothingness and chaos. This was also something that the great world did not have. Not only was the energy of heaven and earth different, but even the sky looked very different. It was like a huge dome that covered the earth. 5 blood-red, evil suns surrounded the divine sun and looked like they were within reach. Su Fong asked, Luo, how was the immortal demon battlefield formed? I'm not sure. I can only deduce some clues from the ancient books and legends passed down from ancient times. Luo said slowly, Legend has it that a long time ago, the universe was in chaos. Later, it was split into chaos by a supreme existence with a giant axe. The chaos gradually separated. The light and clear things slowly rose and became the sky. The heavy and turbid things slowly fell and became the earth. The light and clear things that were split out from the chaos formed countless planes. This is the divine world. The heavy and turbid things formed the small world and the great world. The great world and the small world were originally desolate worlds. Later, human cultivators were born. After countless generations of development, a cultivation civilization was established in the desolate worlds. Hearing Luo's description, Su Fong was shocked. Luo continued, The immortal demon battlefield of the immortal demon battlefield was a boundless square land formed at the beginning of the great world. This is the origin of the saying of the square sky and the square earth. Look at the end of the sky. Ascending to the end is where the heavens and the myriad worlds are. Since ancient times, countless cultivators of the great world have wanted to get rid of the shackles of the world, go to the end of the world, and ascend to the heavens and the myriad worlds. Su Fong looked at the dome. His eyes suddenly burst with a terrifying light. An infinite yearning grew in his heart. It won't be long before I go to the end of the sky and enter the heavens and the myriad worlds. In ancient times, there were countless powerful existences on the earth, including the human race and many other races, divine beasts, spirit race, and countless wonderful existences. Later, the human race rose and became the ruler of the earth, while the other races gradually declined. However, the human race also split. It is said that the demon race split from the human race at that time, but the demon race did not admit that they were a part of the human race. In order to compete for control of the world, the human race and the demon race broke out into war again and again, and it has continued to the present. In the previous great immortal demon wars, countless powerful existences fell, countless races withered, and many cultivation civilizations were completely cut off. Many powerful races were forced to migrate to the myriad worlds and became the god race of the myriad worlds. Even a land formed when the world was created was shattered in the great wars and drifted to every corner of the great world. Now, most of the immortal domains and immortal realms were peeled off from the land formed when the world was created. The primordial immortal demon battlefield you see now is just a fragment of the original land, less than 1/1,000,000th of the original. Su Fong completely turned into a piece of wood. Su Fong, now you know how big the gap between your current strength and that of the ancient great beings is, right? Although you came to the primordial immortal demon battlefield this time, it is also a trial for you. With your luck, you will definitely be able to obtain great opportunities and fortunes in the primordial immortal demon battlefield. I understand, Law. Law's words made Su Fong's blood boil. Then, Su Fong activated his perfected body and changed his face and body, turning into a sturdy and ordinary-looking young man with a dark face. At the same time, he also activated the Heaven-Earth-Fire fusion technique, which was once Huiyin Shinrikyo's #1 cultivation technique. The aura he exuded was completely of the fire element, and his cultivation was suppressed to the first Dao of Saint Immortal level. With such a cultivation level, he was not considered an expert in the primordial immortal demon battlefield, but he was definitely not weak either. With Su Fong's current high-level Dao realm strength, only a demigod expert would be able to see through his disguise if he changed his appearance and concealed his aura. As for those below the demigod realm, they would not be able to see through his disguise. As for the Blood River Lord, as long as he sensed Su Fong's aura, Su Fong's Heaven's secret life contraction technique and Heaven's amplification technique would react. Using the Heaven's secret life contraction technique to conceal his aura in advance, so there was nothing to worry about. If he bumped into the Blood River Lord and could not conceal his aura in time, Su Fong could only blame himself for being unlucky. Whoosh! Su Fong flew across the sky and arrived high in the sky. The shackles of the world here were twice as strong as those in the immortal domain where Su Fong was from. Moreover, the natural spiritual chi of heaven and earth was filled with a violent, austere, and desolate ancient aura. These were all side effects left over from the primordial immortal demon war. Under the influence of the evil sun, the death chi and evil chi of heaven and earth were more than 10 times stronger than those in the immortal domain. In such an environment, the cultivation environment was naturally extremely harsh. However, the cultivators who grew up in such an environment were much stronger than those in the immortal domain. Su Fong had just flown over 100 feet when his divine light suddenly flickered. His body swayed, and he teleported over 100 feet away. Chi! 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 Streaks of sharp sword chi shot out from the void, piercing through space like a sieve. If Su Fong hadn't sensed the abnormality in advance, these sword chi wouldn't have injured him, but he would have been in a sorry state. Chi! 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 So much time has passed, but the remnant sword chi is still so sharp. How terrifyingly powerful are these ancient almighties? Su Fong was shocked. He was on high alert. The ancient immortal demon battlefield was filled with danger. The slightest carelessness could bring about a disaster. Chi! Chi! Chapter 1736. Seeing the big goblin whizzing through the air, Su Fong frowned and landed on ground. The primordial immortal demon battlefield was indeed full of danger. Even the most ordinary flight for cultivators was extremely dangerous. Su Fong had caught a glimpse in the sky just now. With his perfect eyesight, he could vaguely see cities and villages in the distance. Hence, he walked towards them. Brother Scarlet. Su Fong separated a young immortal and communicated with Scarlet Blaze Z. When Scarlet Blaze Z came to the primordial immortal demon battlefield, he had also joined a family force in the Incineration Blaze region. Scarlet Blaze Z had yet to recover from his injuries, so Su Fong had no intention of letting him out. Instead, he wanted to inquire about the situation in the Incineration Blaze region. Brother Scarlet, since the Incineration Blaze region's material continent is filled with magma and fire, there should be many natural treasures containing pure yang energy. Do you know where I can find them? What Su Fong was most concerned about was attacking the 54th Yang Meridian. After asking about the Incineration Blaze region, he immediately asked Scarlet Blaze Z about natural treasures. The Incineration Blaze region does have some natural treasures, including mystical flames. However, it's very difficult to find them in the Incineration Blaze region's plane. Unless it's an extremely dangerous extraterritorial space, one must have great luck to find it. It was during a treasure hunt that I obtained an exotic flame seed. Coupled with the inheritance of the primordial, immortal, venerable Shun Qi, my strength improved by leaps and bounds. Scarlet Blaze Z's answered disappointed Su Fongda. It seemed that he had to leave the Incineration Blaze region and go to other planes in the primordial, immortal demon battlefield to find opportunities to attack the 54th Yang Meridian. To his surprise, Qi Yinzi continued, "If we're talking about spiritual items that contain pure yang energy, then there is indeed such a treasure in the incineration domain. Not only in the immortal realms Immortal Tao, but even in the ancient battlefield of immortals and demons, it could be considered a unique divine item." Su Fong's spirits lifted. Scarlet Blaze Z's words clearly meant that it wasn't an ordinary natural treasure. The largest family force in the Incineration Blaze region is the Jiang clan, which has been passed down from the primordial immortal race to the present day. They control a sacred land called the Divine Mulberry Mountain. There's a divine tree on the Divine Mulberry Mountain called the Divine Mulberry Tree. Divine Mulberry Tree? Could it be the Fusang Tree? There's actually a legendary divine tree in the incineration domain of flames? Su Fongda was taken aback, revealing an incredulous expression. Hibiscus wood. Legend has it that when the heavens and earth were first created, the divine sun was under the Fusang tree. How could such a divine object be preserved until now? Of course, the Divine Mulberry Tree of the Divine Mulberry Mountain is not the legendary Fusang tree from the sunrise. However, it is somewhat related to the Fusang tree. It is said that the Divine Mulberry Mountain is a substance in the sunrise, and the Divine Mulberry Wood that the Jiang clan controls is a spiritual object transplanted by the Jiang clan's ancestors. Although it is not comparable to the real Fusang wood, it is still considered a supreme divine wood. The pure yang spirit object I speak of is not the Divine Mulberry Wood, but a spirit object called the Golden Crow Silkworm that is bred from the leaves of the Divine Mulberry Wood. After it matures, it is able to spit out the supreme yang energy of the world. The Golden Crow Silkworm is very famous among the human cultivators on the immortal demon battlefield. It's not hard to find. Golden Crow Silkworm. Such a spirit object is exactly the pure yang treasure I want. Su Fong's eyes lit up. Brother Su, it will not be easy to obtain the Golden Crow Silkworm. The Jiang clan is a rare descendant of the ancient human race. They have the inherited secret technique to control the Divine Mulberry Wood and breed the Golden Crow Silkworm. Only the pure-blooded members of the Jiang clan can use it. Thus, even if an outsider steals the Divine Mulberry Wood, it will be useless. Moreover, the Jiang clan is also supported by the immortal demon battlefield's overlord force. Every 100,000 years, only 3 Golden Crow Silkworms can be bred. 2 of them are offered to the overlord force by the Jiang clan, leaving only 1 for themselves. This is also the reason why the Jiang clan has been able to survive until now. If you want to directly seize the Golden Crow Silkworm, the overlord force behind the Jiang clan will definitely not sit idly by. It is said that every overlord force on the immortal demon battlefield has a supreme demigod expert. Qi Yinzi's words caused Su Fong to sink into contemplation. Su Fong was not surprised that the overlord forces on the immortal demon battlefield had a demigod expert. Otherwise, the human forces would have already been swallowed up by the resurrected experts. With his current strength, he naturally did not fear a demigod expert. The only troublesome thing was that if he tried to steal the Golden Crow's silkworm, it would definitely cause a world-shaking commotion. As long as the Blood River Lord came to the immortal demon battlefield, it would attract his attention. At that time, he would not be as lucky as last time. The only way is to find a way to sneak into the divine Mulberry Mountain and steal the Golden Crow's silkworm without anyone knowing. Su Fong could not think of a good idea at the moment, so he could only think of a way to steal it. Then, he asked Qi Yinzi about the Jiang clan. The Jiang clan was a mysterious and powerful ancient clan with an incomparably deep foundation. If he wanted to sneak into the Jiang clan and steal the Golden Crow silkworm without alerting anyone, it would not be an easy task. Qi Yinzi suddenly smiled and said, "Brother Su, if you want to obtain the Golden Crow silkworm, you can obtain it openly. There is no need to rob or steal. Every million years, the Jiang clan will hold 1,000 refinements assembly to select refining geniuses from the Incineration Blaze region. The genius that wins first place will receive a Golden Crow silkworm as long as he is willing to join the Jiang clan as a disciple with a different surname. I just calculated with my fingers that there should be only 200 years until the next 1,000 refinements assembly." "There's such a thing?" Su Fong was shocked and astonished. The Golden Crow silkworm is such a precious treasure, yet the Jiang clan is willing to use it as a reward. The reason was actually very simple. Although the Jiang clan was the overlord of the Incineration Blaze region, it was not much among the human forces on the immortal demon battlefield. The Jiang clan was able to become the overlord of the Incineration Blaze region because of the way of refining. However, the Jiang clan did not have many clansmen, so they had to continuously absorb refining geniuses from the outside world to join the Jiang clan. In order to maintain their position as the overlord, the Jiang clan did not hesitate to use a treasure like the Golden Crow silkworm to attract refining geniuses. It was not hard to understand. Anyway, the refining geniuses who received the reward would join the Jiang clan sooner or later. Qi Yinzi said, "Brother Su, back in the constellation of 9 heavens, you were a famous refining genius. With your current height, won't it be easy for you to win the 1,000 refinements assembly? I have abandoned refining for many years. It won't be easy to win the 1,000 refinements assembly." Su Fong shook his head and smiled. In the Star Palace, Su Fong was able to refine middle-grade doctrine weapons. After leaving the Star Palace, Su Fong rarely refined weapons. He had a large number of weapon refining masters under him, and there were countless doctrine weapons. Why would he need to refine weapons personally? Su Fong had never stopped cultivating and comprehending the refining experience and doctrine left by Emperor Tianbao. However, he mainly used it to assist in cultivating his physical body and the Tao Palace of Heaven and Earth. He used himself as a doctrine weapon to cultivate. In order to win the 1,000 refinements assembly, he had to at least refine an upper-grade doctrine weapon. In the true long world, there was no shortage of refining geniuses. However, if he wanted to win the 1,000 refinements assembly, he did not have much confidence. Su Fong had the 9-sun celestial fire and fire cloud emperor body. In addition, he had the purple cloud Dharma spirit and his comprehension of Emperor Tianbao's doctrine of refining and refining experience. If he cultivated in the time immortal abode for over 200 years, it would be equivalent to over 2,000 years. With so many unparalleled advantages in the way of equipment refinement, if Su Fong still could not win the first place in the Myriad Refinement Conference, he might as well kill himself. After ending the conversation with Qi Yinzi, Su Fong pondered again. If he wanted to participate in the Jiang clan's 1,000 refinements assembly, it would be best to join a clan in the Incineration Blaze region. If he suddenly appeared, it would definitely cause a huge commotion. With the Blood River Lord as an enemy, Su Fong had to be careful. About 10 days later, Su Fong came to a city. Compared to the bustling cultivation world outside, the city in the ancient battlefield of immortals and demons could only be described as desolate. Su Fong felt as if he had come to an ancient primitive tribe. A powerful defensive boundary was built outside the city to prevent Big Goblin or resurrected Big Goblin from appearing at any time. The buildings inside were also very simple. There were no shops at all. The transactions between cultivators were carried out directly at the stalls in the market. The cultivators here were not weak. Saint Immortal Realm cultivators were very common, and each of them had a profound aura and a valiant temperament. Su Fong estimated that in terms of strength, the cultivators here could easily defeat cultivators of the same level in the Immortal region. This was also caused by the special environment of the ancient battlefield of immortals and demons. Judging from the aura of the cultivators, most of the cultivation methods they cultivated were passed down from ancient times. Su Fong even saw many cultivators with perfect bodies. The cultivation of the physical body, which had long declined in the outside world, was still very popular here. Most of the cultivators here wore clothes made of beast skin. It was very rare to see someone wearing a Taoist robe like Su Fong. With one look, one could tell that they were cultivators from the immortal region who came to the ancient battlefield of immortals and demons. They seemed out of place. Su Fong found a secluded place and changed into a set of beast skin clothes. Only then did he seem less conspicuous. His second primordial spirit had killed 2 local cultivators, so there was naturally no lack of clothes in their storage rings. Next, Su Fong asked around. It turned out that this city was called Tung City, and it was controlled by a cultivation force called the Tung Clan. The Tung Clan was a first-rate clan in the Incineration Flame region with a population of more than 10 million. There were more than 10 small clans under them, and they lived in Tung City and the surrounding cities and villages. In the market of Tung City, Su Fong saw some cultivators directly put a piece of bee skin on the ground and took out the items they wanted to sell or exchange. Su Fong also saw some cultivators, alchemists, and weapon refiners sitting cross-legged on the ground. They directly placed their flying swords in front of them or drew pictures of pill cauldrons or weapon cauldrons in front of them. At first, Su Fong didn't understand what this meant. After asking, he found out that most of these people were rogue cultivators who hoped to be hired or chosen by a clan and directly join the clan. That's not a bad idea. I can join a certain family without attracting any attention. Chapter 1737. Su Fong had set up a stall in the market and was waiting to be recruited. 8. Read? Book. Oh, who knew? 3 days had passed in a blink of an eye, and no one came to inquire about him. Not only did he look young, but his appearance was also very ordinary. His skin was dark, and there was nothing outstanding about him. If he was a weapon-crafting apprentice or a sword slave, he would be more suitable. A weapon craftsman? Su Fong did not look like a weapon craftsman at all. Not only did he wait for 3 days in vain, but he was also charged 30 mediocre celestial stones. As it turned out, one had to pay celestial stones to set up a stall in the market. Not only did he fail to attract customers, but he also attracted many greedy gazes. Being able to set up a stall in the market was considered profitable. In the ancient battlefield of immortals and demons, where people could kill and rob at any time, Su Fong naturally became the target of some people. No one dared to make a move in public in the market. However, no one would know once they left the market. A beautiful young woman with a cold and elegant temperament walked into the market with a 12 or 13-year-old boy. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Many gazes were focused on the young woman. Most of them were filled with greed and possessiveness. Su Fong was also surprised. Not only was the young woman beautiful, but her cultivation base was also at the peak of the 9th Tao Saint stage. She was extraordinary. However, the beautiful young woman was dressed in plain clothes. It was obvious she did not come from a large clan. The young woman seemed to be used to everyone's gazes and did not notice it at all. On the other hand, the young man was infuriated by everyone's gazes, but there was nothing he could do. The young woman brought the young man around the market. It seemed like she was recruiting weapon craftsmen. She stopped in front of Su Fong's stall and looked at Su Fong for a while before she left. Mother, this young cultivator looks like charcoal. It's ridiculous that he dares to, don't talk nonsense. This person has the cultivation base of a Saint Celestial, and his strength is extraordinary. Su Fong heard the conversation between the young man and the young woman, clearly with his "will you hear me?" He was actually looked down upon by a youth. Su Fong smiled bitterly and planned to pack up his stall and leave. This method obviously wouldn't work. The young woman failed to recruit a suitable weapon refiner and was about to leave with the young man. At this time, a young cultivator in a silver robe, escorted by a group of burly men, arrived at the market. The noisy market suddenly quieted down. Everyone looked at the silver-robed cultivator with eyes full of respect. Clearly, this silver-robed cultivator had a great background. The young woman's divine light changed slightly. Just as she was about to leave the market, the silver-robed cultivator saw her and blocked her way. The silver-robed cultivator glanced at the young woman's chest and licked his lips. Then he laughed and said, "Madame Zhu wants to recruit blacksmiths?" He heard that Master Peng didn't want to work anymore, and the Zhu family's weapon refining training hall was about to close down. The Tang clan doesn't lack blacksmiths. How about I introduce a few blacksmiths to Lady Zhu? Thank you for your kind intentions, young Master Tang. I have already recruited a blacksmith, so there is no need for young Master Tang to worry. Madame Zhu pulled away from the silver-robed cultivator and almost bumped into Su Fong, who was about to pack up his stall and leave. Young Master Tang said, "Who is the blacksmith that Madame Zhu recruited? Let me check for you so that you won't be deceived." Madame Zhu was very afraid of young Master Tang. Although she disliked him, she didn't dare to refuse him directly. When she saw him, her eyes lit up. This is the blacksmith that the Zhu clan just recruited. Young Master Ting glanced at Su Fong with disdain. Is this kid qualified to be called a blacksmith? Su Fong raised his eyebrows and said indifferently, "I'm the blacksmith that Madame Zhu just recruited. As for whether I am qualified to be called a blacksmith, it is up to Madame Zhu. Young Master Tang has no say." "Impudent! You dare to be rude to young Master Tang?" A burly man behind young Master Ting shouted coldly. He emitted a fierce, murderous aura and looked as if he was about to kill Su Fong. "Forget it." Young Master Tang pretended to be elegant and waved his hand. He said to Madame Zhu, "If you want to find a blacksmith, you can find me anytime." "Thank you, young Master Tang." Madame Zhu hurriedly took her son and walked out of the market. Su Fong also followed her out embarrassedly. Looking at Su Fong's back, the people in the market whispered. The topic of discussion was that Su Fong, a foreign cultivator, was courting death by offending young Master Tang. Some people also said that Madame Zhu would become young Master Tang's plaything sooner or later. The Zhu clan's dojo and the entire Zhu clan would be annexed by the Tang clan. "Young Master, Tang City belongs to the Tang clan. You can have any woman you want. Why do you like this girl? Since young Master wants this girl, why don't you just capture her?" A burly man asked in confusion. Young Master Tang inexplicably snorted. "What do you know? Go investigate the background of that black-faced kid. There's no need to investigate. Just kill him. It's not good to kill him in Tang City's market, but once you leave the market, wouldn't it be as easy for me to kill you as an ant?" After Su Fong followed the mother and son out of the market, Madame Zhu took out a middle-grade immortal stone. "Thank you for helping me and my son. This is a small token of my appreciation. Please accept it." Su Fong only smiled faintly. Madame Zhu thought that Su Fong thought it was too little and took out 2 middle-grade immortal stones. Unexpectedly, Su Fong shook his head and said, "Since Madame Zhu recruited me, how can you dismiss me so quickly?" Madame Zhu was stunned. The youth said angrily, "You don't know what's good for you. How dare you rely on my mother?" Su Fong smiled embarrassedly. "Madame Zhu used me as a shield. You want to dismiss me with merely 3 middle-grade immortal stones? Isn't that too cheap? Since Madame Zhu said that she recruited me, then I am now the tool refiner of the Zhu clan. Naturally, Madame Zhu has to support me." "You scoundrel!" The youth flew into a rage and released a wave of fire, elemental godly might. This youth was not old, but his cultivation had already reached the peak of the 9th heavenly immortal realm. This made Su Fong very surprised. Moreover, his fire elemental godly might carried an ancient aura. It was obvious that he had cultivated a pure and powerful fire elemental divine ability. "Yenner, don't be rude." Madame Zhu quickly stopped the youth. "Although the Zhu clan has declined, it is still easy to support person. You just helped us out, so it is not a big deal for the Zhu clan to support you for a while. However, our Zhu clan is still a large clan that has been passed down since ancient times. Although we have declined, we still have some connections with some ancient clans. Although we are now dependent on the Tang clan, even the Tang clan does not dare to forcefully swallow our Zhu clan. Before you have any evil thoughts, you should think carefully. If you have any other thoughts, don't blame me for being impolite. Madame Zhu continued with a domineering aura. The young man glared fiercely at Su Fong. Charcoal, it's one thing for you to be a freeloader in the Zhu family, but if you dare to be like those bad guys and have designs on my mother, see how I'll deal with you. Charcoal? Pervert? Ha ha! A burst of laughter came from the blood jade. Su Fong, you never dreamed that you would be treated as a pervert one day, right? Su Fong helplessly touched the tip of his nose. Just like that, Su Fong became the blacksmith of the Zhu clan. No, it should be said that he was a freeloader. The Zhu clan was also a powerful clan in the ancient times. They were especially famous for their fire elemental divine ability. There were still records in the ancient books of the Great World. In the ancient times, the Zhu clan had an almighty called Zhu Rong. He was extremely powerful and was respected as the god of fire. Now, the Zhu clan had declined greatly. There were only about 10,000 people left, and they did not even have a single immortal venerable expert. They had no choice but to rely on the Tang clan. The clan leader of the Zhu clan unfortunately died 1,000 years ago. Now, the clan was under the control of the strongest Madame Zhu. The youth was called Zhu Yan, and he was the young clan leader of the Zhu clan. The Zhu clan was proficient in fire elemental divine ability, so they were also proficient in the art of blacksmithing. The blacksmithing dojo of the Zhu clan was quite famous in the Burning Domain. Because of this, it attracted the attention of many clans, especially the Tang clan. Because of this, young Master Tang tried to get Madame Zhu. This way, he would be able to control the Zhu clan. The village of the Zhu clan was 200 to 300 li away from Tang City. Because of the powerful Big Goblin and the resurrected Big Goblin in the sky, as well as the various chaotic forces left behind by the Great War of the Immortals and Demons, Saint Immortals did not dare to fly in the sky. Su Fong and Madame Zhu could only walk. Because there were no barriers or world barriers in the wilderness, they could face all kinds of dangers at any time. Therefore, the three of them walked very carefully. Whoosh! A resurrected Big Goblin with a wingspan of over 500 zhong circled in the sky and then dove down. It carried a monstrous and ferocious chi of death that covered the entire area. Its strength had reached the level of the 9th Dao Saint Immortal Realm. It's the corpse-refined puppet of the Tang clan, Lin Xiao. The expression on Zhu Yan's face changed as he panicked. This young Master Tang is really vengeful. Madame Zhu's eyes emitted coldness. Su Fong was astonished. It's a corpse-refined puppet? I didn't expect the corpse-refined sect of the ancient evil Dao to still have a legacy in the ancient battlefield of the immortals and demons. Then, Su Fong said, that young Master Tang loves Madame Zhu, so he naturally won't hurt Madame Zhu. Since he sent out this Lin Xiao, it's obvious that he is targeting me. Madame Zhu, please leave with the young clan leader. You are now a blacksmith recruited by the Zhu clan. How can we not care about your life? Madame Zhu shouted coldly. After forming a hand seal, a fire elemental godly might burst out. Like lava, the godly might swept towards the Lin Xiao. Boom, boom, boom. The Lin Xiao's strength was extremely shocking. Not only did it have sharp claws that could tear the void, but it could also use primordial spirit attacks to affect the primordial spirit consciousness of cultivators. Although Madame Zhu's strength was not bad, she was still not a match for the Lin Xiao. Gradually, she was at a disadvantage. Take Yan and leave first. I will stall this Lin Xiao, Madame Zhu said hastily. This woman is not a simple person. No wonder she can control the Zhu clan. Su Fong thought to himself, Madam, I will save you. Chapter 1738. Qi, Jiuzhan Jiuyang, Chapter 1757. Su Fong controlled a peak upper-grade flying sword and shot it towards Lin Xiao. The flying sword hit Lin Zhao's chest. With a loud clang, it did not even break through his skin, let alone cause much damage to him. Why aren't you taking Yin and leaving? If you stay here, you will only cause more trouble for me. Madame Zhu was furious. How is this helping? It was clearly more of a hindrance. Who knew? Boom. The high-class flying sword exploded. The broken pieces of the sword and the sword air hit Lin Zhao's body. It blew a big hole in Lin Zhao's chest. Chi! Chi! More than 10 sword lights were shot out in succession, all of which were at the peak of the high grade. Chi! 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 The flying sword exploded at the same time. Although Lin Zhao's body had been refined with a special secret technique and was extremely strong, it could not withstand the power of so many flying swords exploding at the same time. Lin Zhao's body was instantly covered with wounds. There was also a flying sword. After the explosion, it unexpectedly shot into Lin Zhao's head, destroying the array formation and immortal stone in his head. The corpse refining puppet relied on the power of the array and the immortal stone to be powerful. This Lin Zhao was different from Su Fang's corpse refining puppet. The array and the immortal stone were sealed in his head. Now that they were destroyed by the explosion of the flying sword, the huge Lin Zhao became a corpse and fell to the ground. An extremely powerful Lin Zhao was killed just like that. Young Zhu Yin was dumbstruck. Madame Zhu also looked at Su Fang in disbelief. Chapter 1757, 9 Truths and 9 Sons. In the ancient battlefield of the immortals and demons, peak upper-grade flying swords were expensive. Although the Zhu family had declined, they still had a certain amount of resources. They could still take out a dozen peak upper-grade flying swords. However, they could not explode all of them like Su Fang did. Those were peak upper-grade flying swords. How could Su Fang treat them as a one-time use talisman? How much did he have to squander to do that? Su Fang smiled embarrassedly and said, "I'm a refiner. I don't have anything else, but I have a lot of magic weapons. Just now, in order to save my life, I only exploded some useless flying swords." Madame Zhu was speechless for a while. Only now did she realize that she had misjudged Su Fang. Although Su Fang's strength was ordinary and she didn't know how good his refining skills were, she could at least confirm that he was rich. Therefore, Madame Zhu speculated that Su Fang was most likely a lecherous person like young Master Tongue. Su Fang must have tried his best to enter the Zhu clan in order to get close to her. Zhu Yin muttered softly, "Wastrel, let's go." One of young Master Tongue's refined owls was killed. He will definitely not let the matter rest. Let's hurry back to the Zhu clan. Madame Zhu waved her hand and led Zhu Yin and Su Fang to the village where the Zhu clan lived. On the way, a voice came from within Law's body and mocked Su Fang. "There are so many clans and forces in the Inferno domain, yet you chose such a beautiful young woman. Su Fang, you have revealed your true nature, haven't you? I didn't expect this. I really didn't expect this. I finally understand now. You don't like young girls, but married young women. This taste." Su Fang unreservedly activated the godly might of his magic weapon and sealed Law's room in the Cavern of Time. After that, they didn't encounter any trouble, and Su Fang smoothly arrived at the Zhu clan. The village where the Zhu clan lived was built in a valley. The houses were very simple and crude, and there was a simple defensive barrier around them. The clansmen lived in the valley. The valley was very hot and scorching. It was obvious that there was magma underground. In the mountains, there was a refinement hall built with the help of the magma. It was the foundation of the Zhu clan's survival. When they arrived at the entrance, an elder from the Zhu clan hurried over. "Madam, young master, something bad has happened. We promised to deliver 1,000 middle-grade flying swords to the Merchant Association, but because we didn't deliver them on time, the Merchant Association has come to rush us. If we don't deliver them today, we will have to pay 3 times the compensation and will no longer accept flying swords from the Zhu clan." Didn't Master Peng already make those 1,000 flying swords? Madame Zhu raised her eyebrows and said in surprise. The Zhu clan relied on refinement for a living. If their relationship with the Merchant Association was strained, they wouldn't even be able to feed themselves. The Zhu clan used to have many great refiners, But when the world changed 1,000 years ago, the Zhu clan was attacked by a revived being and the Big Goblin. One of the peerless beings that came back from the magma came out of the hall and killed more than 10 refiners, including the clan leader. As a result, the Zhu clan, which specialized in fire god art, couldn't even find a decent refiner. They could only recruit refiners from other clans, and the entire Zhu clan declined. The Zhu clan elders said, Master Peng only made the sword body Dao Palace before, but he didn't complete the refinement. He used this chance to make things difficult for us and asked for our inherited fire god art. He's gone too far. Zhu Yan's eyes were burning with anger. I'll go beg Master Peng again. Madame Zhu was indeed the leader of the Zhu clan. She could still keep her composure at a time like this and hurried to the hall. The Zhu clan seems to be in a bad situation. I've chosen to join the Zhu clan and participate in the refinement meeting as a refiner of the Zhu clan. Have I chosen the wrong force? Su Fong touched the tip of his nose and followed Madame Zhu. Who are you? The Zhu clan's artifact refining training hall is an important place of the Zhu clan. How can you enter as you please? The old man stopped Su Fong at the entrance of the training hall. Su Fong said, I'm the refiner that Madame Zhu just recruited. How can I stay out of this when the hall is in trouble? Madame Zhu recruited a refiner? The Zhu clan elder looked at Su Fong suspiciously. He couldn't believe it. Let him come. Madame Zhu waved her hand and signaled the elder to let him pass. Following the path opened up in the mountain, they arrived at a huge cave in the mountain. Magma flowed slowly around the cave. The Zhu clan's hall used the fire elemental energy in the magma to refine weapons. More than a dozen cauldrons stood in the cave. The flames in the cauldrons roared and filled the cave with shocking flames. Cultivators below the arcane immortal realm had to circulate their true chi to defend themselves. In front of a cauldron in the center, a red-haired elder sat cross-legged on the ground with his eyes closed. He had an arrogant look on his face. He should be Master Peng, who abandoned his job at the critical moment. Su Fong sensed faint great fertility purple chi from him. Apparently, he had been refining for a long time and was contaminated with the great fertility purple chi produced when magic weapons were born. Beside him, a dozen Zhu tribesmen were begging for mercy, but the old man remained unmoved. Madame Zhu went up and pleaded, Master Peng, these flying swords are very important to the Zhu clan. Please complete the refinement as soon as possible. I'll thank you on behalf of the entire Zhu clan. Master Peng's eyes were still closed. He said indifferently, study the Zhu clan's inherited ability for half a year. The 1,000 flying swords can be delivered tomorrow. Madame Zhu held back her anger and said, the Zhu clan's fire elemental ability was passed down from the ancient times. Non-members of the Zhu clan can't cultivate it. Master Peng's request is too much. Master Peng chuckled and didn't say anything else. Madame Zhu and the Zhu clan members were very anxious, but there was nothing they could do. Master Peng was very famous in the incineration domain and could be considered a first-rate refiner. The Zhu clan was in dire straits and didn't dare to offend him. They could only beg. Master Peng was obviously determined to get the Zhu clan's fire elemental ability. This time, he grasped the Zhu clan's weakness. No matter how the Zhu clan members begged, he didn't budge. Suddenly, Su Fong said, Butcher Zhang is dead. Do we have to eat a pig with fur? Madame Zhu, since you've recruited me as your refiner, why don't you ask me for help? You? Swoosh. Swoosh. Everyone looked at Su Fong. Even Master Peng suddenly opened his eyes. When they saw Su Fong's appearance and age, the Zhu clan members were disappointed. Master Peng snorted in disdain and closed his eyes again. Su Fong's appearance was secondary. The key was his age. Other than the genius refiners who were as brilliant as the stars, it was already quite impressive for someone of Su Fong's age to be able to memorize all the refining materials, learn how to polish them, and master some hand gestures to control flames. Refining? Moreover, he had refined so many middle-grade Dao tools. This was simply a joke. Let me try. Maybe I can succeed. Su Fong smiled faintly and walked to a cauldron. Madame Zhu, this kid doesn't know how to refine. If he destroys a cauldron's flying swords, I won't be responsible. Master Peng sneered with disdain. The Zhu clan members all came forward to stop Su Fong. Madame Zhu gritted her teeth and said, "Let him try." The Zhu clan couldn't hand over their heritage and let Master Peng do it. Instead of waiting for death, they might as well give it a shot. Madame Zhu also had a feeling that this black-faced youth was unusual, but she couldn't tell what it was. At this moment, Su Fong released a fire elemental aura. With the help of the fire elemental aura, Su Fong could see the situation in the cauldron clearly. There were rudimentary flying swords in the cauldron. They were only one step away from being refined into flying swords. However, this last step was the most crucial. If there was a mistake, everything would be in vain. This is only the last step. It can't be any simpler. Shocking fire elemental aura surged out of Su Fong's body and merged with the flames in the cauldron. Su Fong had the most domineering and pure 9 suns immortal fire in the great world. In addition, he had matured the fire cloud emperor physique. His control of fire was unmatched in the great world. What was a mere cauldron's flame? He could even use the fire cloud emperor physique to refine weapons with his palms. Chapter 1739. About an hour later, Jiuzhen Jiang, Chapter 1758. Su Fong suddenly formed a hand seal and released a divine aura. He reached out and grabbed the cauldron. Chi! Su Fong grabbed a flaming sword from the cauldron. Su Fong waved his hand and splashed the spirit liquid on the flaming sword. After a burst of chi-chi sound, a white smoke with a faint mysterious glow rose into the air. The flames on the sword quickly extinguished, and a flying sword appeared in everyone's sight. Success! How old is this person to be able to successfully forge an embryonic flying sword in just 2 hours? The Zhu clan members in the cave were in an uproar. This kid has some skill. Master Peng stared at the flying sword with surprise in his eyes. Whoosh! Under the control of Su Fong's divine aura, the flying sword flew to Madame Zhu and quietly floated in front of her. Madame Zhu, please inspect this flying sword. It should meet the standards for delivery to the Chamber of Commerce, right? Su Fong said faintly. Madame Zhu finally recovered from her surprise and grabbed the flying sword to inspect it. She was surprised to find that the quality of this flying sword was even higher than the mid-grade flying swords Master Peng usually made. It was at the limit of mid-grade magic treasures. Madame Zhu was pleasantly surprised. It's enough. I really didn't expect. You really are a blacksmith? What a joke. Su Fong's 9, celestial fire of the 9 suns, was a powerful flame. How could a flying sword be of low quality after being refined by it? With such a powerful flame, Su Fong's refining speed was naturally unparalleled. Master Peng snorted disdainfully. This flying sword was originally refined by this old man and was left in the cauldron to be nourished by the flames. This kid actually took it out and claimed it as his own work. How shameless. If you have the ability, why don't you try to forge another flying sword? Master Peng calculated that with Su Fong's age, he must have used up a lot of energy to refine the embryonic flying sword into a flying sword. It must have reached the limit of what he could bear. That was why Master Peng said that. Not only did he want to take all the credit, but he also put Su Fong in a checkmate. Jiuzhen Jiang, 1758 chapter. The Zhu clan members immediately believed Master Peng's words and looked at Su Fong with questioning eyes. After all, Su Fong was too young. With his honest and tanned appearance, it was really hard to believe that he could refine a mid-grade flying sword. Even if he could complete the last step of the flying sword, it was still very unlikely. Even Madame Zhu revealed an uncertain expression. Shall I try again? Su Fong released another streak of 9 suns, immortal fire. At the same time, he used the power of fire to control the flames in the cauldron. Soon, he pulled out another flying sword. After sprinkling spirit liquid on it, the flying sword appeared again with a white mist and multicolored light. Master Peng, did you refine this in advance? Su Fong looked at Master Peng with an honest look. There was no trace of mockery in his eyes. That's right. This flying sword was also refined by this old man. Master Peng's face was hot, and he was shocked, but he still said decisively, Chi Chi Chi. Su Fong activated his fire elemental divine power. After another 2 hours, a dozen flying swords flew out of the cauldron at the same time. After sprinkling the spirit liquid, the flying swords appeared again. Su Fong asked again, "These flying swords must have been refined by Master Peng in advance, right?" "Yes, that's right." Master Peng gritted his teeth. He didn't believe that Su Fong had the ability to continue releasing his fire elemental divine power. Su Fong controlled his fire elemental divine power again and merged it perfectly with the cauldron. Then he released his fire elemental divine power and burned it. Chi Chi Chi. Su Fongda waved his hand, and the remaining 80 burning swords flew out of the cauldron. Pooh! This time, Su Fong activated his water elemental ability and sprinkled the spirit liquid evenly on the swords. Chi Chi Chi. A burst of white mist rose and dissipated. The 80 flying swords floated there and emitted rays of light that gathered together to form a dazzling brilliance. But in Master Peng's eyes, it was dazzling. Su Fong asked, "Master Peng, did you refine all of these swords in advance?" "Shua." Master Peng's old face turned red in an instant, as if Su Fong had slapped him several times. His old face was smashed. No matter how thick-skinned he was, he could not continue to pretend anymore. The Zhu clan members looked at Su Fong in a daze. Their eyes were lifeless, and they were like pieces of wood. After a strong shock, Madame Zhu's heart surged with indescribable joy. "We found a treasure. The Zhu clan has found a rare treasure this time. So the Zhu clan has invited an expert to come and slap this old man's face. We'll meet again someday. Let's wait and see." Master Peng fiercely glanced at Su Fong and then walked out of the training hall without looking back. Shwa shwa shwa. The Zhu clan members in the cave all focused their gazes on Su Fong. Their eyes were filled with shock and awe. At the same time, these clansmen prostrated themselves in admiration of Madame Zhu. It was because of Master Peng's exorbitant demand for the Zhu clan's fire elemental divine power that Madame Zhu personally brought the young clan leader to the Tung City market to recruit a blacksmith. She didn't expect that she would recruit such a powerful blacksmith. Even some of the Zhu clan members who weren't convinced of Madame Zhu's abilities couldn't help but admire her ability. Su Fong sat cross-legged in front of the cauldron and closed his eyes to recover. He had indeed used up a lot of Nine Suns' immortal fire when he was refining, but with his current cultivation, this amount of consumption was nothing. Moreover, Su Fong's Nine Suns' immortal fire was a tyrannical flame that surpassed all the primordial fires in the cauldron. He only needed a little bit of Nine Suns' immortal fire to control all the primordial fires in the cauldron. It would be very easy for him to refine all the remaining rudimentary flying swords in one go. However, what he did just now was already shocking enough. If he could refine all 1,000 rudimentary flying swords in one go, it would be too shocking. Madame Zhu waved her hand at the Zhu clan members, and they immediately left the training hall. Madame Zhu stood to the side and quietly waited for Su Fong to recover. After waiting for nearly 4 hours, Su Fong slowly opened his eyes. Madame Zhu said, "May I ask this great master's name? Which blacksmith clan do you come from?" Su Fong helplessly rubbed the tip of his nose. Only now did she remember to ask for his name. It seemed that Madame Zhu really did think of Su Fong as a freeloader and didn't take him to heart. "My name is Fong Yu. I don't come from a blacksmith clan, but from the immortal domain outside of the primordial immortal demon battlefield." Su Fong once again used the pseudonym he used in the small world. As for his identity as a foreign cultivator, there was no need to hide it. His aura didn't contain the aura of the primordial immortal demon battlefield's world origin. True experts could tell at a glance that he was a foreign cultivator. The primordial immortal demon battlefield and the immortal domain were separated by countless difficulties and dangers. However, there were still many cultivators who came to the primordial immortal demon battlefield in search of treasures. Therefore, his identity as a foreign cultivator wasn't suspicious at all. So Great Master Fong is from the immortal domain. May I know why Great Master Fong came to my Zhu clan? Please tell me in advance so that there won't be any misunderstandings in the future. Madame Zhu's gaze suddenly turned sharp, as if she wanted to see through Su Fong. This woman was indeed very shrewd to be able to control the Zhu clan. She could tell at a glance that Su Fong came to the Zhu clan with ulterior motives. Su Fong's divine light swept over Madame Zhu. He smiled faintly and said, "Don't worry, Madame Zhu. I didn't come to the Zhu clan's blacksmith training ground for your beauty, nor did I come for the Zhu clan's inherited fire ability." Madame Zhu's face turned slightly red, her eyes filled with shame and anger. She continued to ask, "Then why did Great Master Fong come?" Su Fong said bluntly, "The Myriad Refinements Conference." "The Myriad Refinements Conference?" Madame Zhu was startled. "According to the information I heard in the market, to participate in the Jiang clan's Myriad Refinement Conference, one must be recommended by a blacksmith training ground of a clan for the Burning Flame domain to qualify for the preliminary round. I want the Zhu clan's blacksmith training ground spot." She then shook her head and said, "Although the Zhu clan's blacksmith training ground has declined, they do have a spot for the preliminary round of the Myriad Refinements Conference. However, Great Master Fong, you look young and have such skill in blacksmithing. You can be called a blacksmith genius. If you want to participate in the Myriad Refinements Conference, I'm afraid your skill is not enough." Su Fong said faintly, "Madame Zhu doesn't need to worry about this. I only want the Zhu clan spot. In return, I will blacksmith for the Zhu clan for 200 years without any compensation." Madame Zhu thought for a while and nodded. "Deal." Next, Su Fong used 10 days to refine all the flying sword prototypes that Great Master Peng had already refined into flying swords. After being refined by Su Fong's 9-son immortal fire, the quality of these 1,000 flying swords was much higher than before. Not only did the Chamber of Commerce not pursue the matter of the Zhu clan's late delivery, they signed an even bigger order with the Zhu clan. Just like this, the Zhu clan's great crisis was resolved with Su Fong's arrival. Su Fong became the Zhu clan's blacksmith master. He had a high status in the Zhu clan and was deeply respected. In order to win the Myriad Refinements Conference and obtain the Golden Crow Silkworm, Su Fong began to practice blacksmithing like crazy. In terms of blacksmithing, Su Fong had innate conditions that no blacksmith genius could match. He had previously cultivated and comprehended the great Tao of blacksmithing of the Heavenly Treasure Emperor. He also had the blacksmithing experience left behind by the Heavenly Treasure Emperor. In addition, he had the guidance of the Dead King, the top blacksmith of the Great World, and the blacksmithing experts of the True Dragon Realm's blacksmith training ground. Su Fong also didn't lack high-grade cauldrons. The Heavenly Dipper Creation Cauldron was the #1 cauldron used by the Yellow Spring Emperor to refine magic treasures. Its quality had reached the level of a King Grade Tao artifact, and it was a rare treasure cauldron in the Great World. In addition, Su Fong had the Cave of Time, which allowed him to have a lot of time to practice blacksmithing. With so many advantages, it was impossible for Su Fong's blacksmithing skills to slow down. Chapter 1740. Su Fong spent a portion of his time refining weapons for the Zhu clan every day. Thankfully, the weapons the Zhu clan sold to the Merchant Guild were all mid-grade flying swords. With Su Fong's current skill, it was more than enough to deal with them. 9 Truths and 9 Sons. Chapter 1759. For the rest of his time, Su Fong cultivated in the Cave of Time. He had transformed a room in the Cave of Time into a small dojo for refining weapons. Apart from leaving his blood clone to practice various cultivation methods and combat arts, he spent most of his energy on refining weapons. Along with the passage of time, Su Fong's artifact refining standard rose at an astonishing speed. After repeated practice, Su Fong's understanding of Emperor Tianbao's great Tao of refining and cultivation in his own world gradually deepened. The Zhu clan's armament training hall had a long history and had a large amount of great pregnant purple gas. Although it was not very useful to the purple gas Dharma spirit, Su Fong did not let it go. No matter how small a mosquito was, it was still meat. Every little bit counted. Su Fong didn't neglect his cultivation while refining weapons. After forefather Tianming's body had been completely devoured by Su Fong, his strength had improved by leaps and bounds. Not only had he stabilized at the high level of the Tao realm, but he was also gradually ascending to the peak of the Tao realm. His cultivation speed was absolutely terrifying. At the same time, Su Fong often left the dojo to find a secluded place to absorb sunlight with the Origin Sacred Mirror and convert it into red Origin Qi. In the battlefield of immortals and demons, the mirror had absorbed even more Origin Qi from the sunlight and converted it into yang energy. Su Fong cultivated the 9 suns, 9 transformations with the help of the vast yang pill and various other spiritual items, constantly attacking the 54th yang meridian. As Su Fong had predicted, the birth of a yang meridian was extremely difficult. The accumulation of yang energy had reached a state of saturation, but the yang meridian still showed no signs of birth. It still lacked an opportunity. On the contrary, the dragon bird, in the heaven and earth Tao palace, swallowed the pure yang aura of the Su Fong, as well as the primordial spirit Qi transformed by the treasure mirror, transforming at an astonishing speed. 9 True 9 Suns, Chapter 1759. Gue had completely devoured the 9 demonic beasts that Ming Yan had possessed. He was currently in a deep slumber. When he woke up, he would be a terrifying monster that would make even demigods tremble in fear. Bai Ling and Green Feather Monarch were also close to breaking through to Demon Sage. Su Fong decided to let them break through to Demon Sage when he found a suitable place. About 20 years passed. In reality, 200 years had passed in the cave abode of time. Su Fong, who was sitting cross-legged in front of the heavenly creation cauldron, suddenly opened his eyes. Then he grabbed a burning sword from the cauldron and poured a sizzling spiritual liquid onto the sword. A sharp sword light suddenly appeared, causing the entire time immortal cave to be filled with astonishing sword chi. When the multicolored light and white fog dissipated, a flying sword appeared in front of Su Fong. Judging from the aura of the magic treasure, it was a high-grade flying sword. The value of a high-grade flying sword was nothing to Su Fong. Su Fong didn't even care about a peak supreme-grade magic treasure. However, this was Su Fong's first high-grade Tao weapon after all. Naturally, he was very happy. If I want to take first place in the Jiang Clan's 1,000 Refinements Conference, obtain the Golden Crow Silkworm, and forge a high-grade Tao weapon, it's clearly far from enough. Even if I forge a supreme-grade Tao weapon, I might not be able to guarantee first place. Only by forging a peak supreme-grade Tao weapon can I be considered a sure bet. Su Fong's ambition was extraordinarily great. He had just forged a high-grade Tao weapon, and now he had set his sights on a peak supreme-grade Tao weapon. However, Su Fong had the strength and confidence to do so. Grandmaster Fong. Madame Zhu's voice came from outside the training hall. What's the matter? Since Su Fong was preparing to forge a high-grade Tao weapon, the Zhu clan's weapon forging hall was temporarily closed to avoid distraction. In the past 20 years, the quality of the Tao weapons forged by the weapon forging hall was much higher than before because of Su Fong. Thus, the Chamber of Commerce had a steady flow of orders. Not only did the Zhu clan escape the crisis of survival, but it also improved. Therefore, Madame Zhu respected Su Fong even more. At this time, Madame Zhu suddenly came to interrupt Su Fong's seclusion. There must be something important. Madame Zhu responded. Young Master Tung and Master Gu of the Tung clan came to the Zhu clan. They invited Grandmaster Fong to meet them. Young Master Tung? What's he doing here? Su Fong thought of the last time he was chased by Lin Xiao of the Tung clan. However, Su Fong's mood didn't change. With his current strength, he couldn't sweep the entire immortal demon battlefield. Eliminating the Tung clan, which had a population of less than 10 million, was as easy as flipping his hand. He just didn't want to make a big fuss over an ant like young Master Tung. He didn't expect young Master Tung to take the initiative to come and ask Su Fong to meet him. Obviously, it wasn't something good. Su Fong didn't care about an ant like young Master Tung, but it didn't mean that he would let an ant bare its fangs and brandish its claws in front of him. If young Master Tung was really reckless, then he could only fulfill his wish. Madame Zhu's voice was grave as she said, Although I don't know the purpose of young Master Tung's visit, I'm sure he doesn't have good intentions. Master Gu, who came with young Master Tung, is a blacksmith of the Tang clan. He is a disciple of the same blacksmith as Master Peng, so they have a good relationship. Master Peng also came with young Master Tung and asked to meet you. I'll be there soon. Su Fong came out of the Cavern of Time and walked out of the weapon forging hall. On the way, Su Fong suddenly asked, "What is the status of this young Master Tung in the Tang clan?" There are many clansmen in the Tang clan, and there are more than 100 clansmen who hold the title of Young Master. Except for those who have extraordinary talent in cultivation or blacksmithing, the other young masters don't have high statuses. This young Master Tung's name is Tung Chu. He has extraordinary talent in cultivation, so his status in the Tang clan is extraordinary. He is the strongest competitor for the position of Young Master of the Tang clan. Madame Zhu was startled for a moment. Then she answered truthfully. So this young Master Tung isn't an idiot. Su Fong smiled faintly and didn't say anything else. Madame Zhu warned, "Master Fong, please restrain yourself in front of young Master Tung. The Zhu clan can't afford to offend this person. If Master Fong offends him, it will be difficult for you to establish yourself in the incineration domain, let alone participate in the Myriad Refinements Conference." "Thank you for your reminder, Madame Zhu." Su Fong raised the corner of his mouth, and a trace of disdain and ridicule flashed in his deep eyes. Madame Zhu brought Su Fong to a stone palace. In the stone palace, in addition to young Master Tung and Master Peng, there was an old man with the aura of a great artifact and the great pregnant purple chi. Obviously, he was a very powerful blacksmith. This old man should be the blacksmith of the Tung clan, Master Gu. Behind young Master Tung stood a middle-aged cultivator with a curly beard. His strength was extraordinary, and he had reached the initial stage of the Tao realm. Whether it was in the immortal realm or the ancient battlefield of immortals and demons, Tao realm immortal venerables were absolute experts. In the Tung clan, immortal venerables were the top experts. As soon as Su Fong entered the palace, he felt young Master Tung's gaze on him, which contained a murderous intent. However, the murderous intent wasn't fierce. Obviously, in young Master Tung's eyes, Su Fong was just a weakling that could be killed casually. He wasn't worth paying attention to at all. Before Su Fong sat down, Master Peng sneered eerily. "Outsider, young Master Tung came to the Zhu clan to tell you that young Master Tung wants the Zhu clan spot to participate in the preliminaries of the Myriad Refinements Conference." Su Fong raised his eyebrows and asked indifferently, "What right does young Master Tung have to take away the spot that belongs to me?" Master Peng sneered disdainfully. "Young Master Tung can take away your life, let alone your spot. What reason does he need?" Madame Zhu hurriedly said, "Young Master Tung, this spot was given to the Zhu clan by the Jiang clan. How can you take it away so easily?" Tung Chu said coldly, "The Zhu clan has declined. What right does it have to participate in the Myriad Refinements Conference? Even if I take away the Zhu clan's blacksmith training hall, the Jiang clan won't say anything." Madame Zhu suppressed her anger and said, "Young Master Tung, this spot is useless. Please be magnanimous." At this moment, Master Gu said majestically, "Young Master Ting asked for this spot for my disciple. How can it be useless for him to go and gain experience?" Glancing at Su Fong, Master Gu showed a disdainful expression and said, "Who does he think he is to be qualified to participate in the Myriad Refinements Conference? The Zhu clan is a vassal clan of the Tang clan. This person will represent the Zhu clan in the Myriad Refinements Conference. Not only will he embarrass the Zhu clan, but he will also damage the Tang clan's reputation." Young Master Ting looked at Su Fong indifferently. A murderous intent flashed in his eyes. As long as Su Fong showed any dissatisfaction, he would kill him for offending the young master of the Tang clan. Of course, young Master Tung didn't come to the Zhu clan to kill Su Fong. If it weren't for Master Gu's appearance and the fact that a refined owl had died because of Su Fong, young Master Ting wouldn't even remember the existence of Su Fong. His purpose was to kill Su Fong to intimidate Madame Zhu and cut off the Zhu clan source of income. This way, he would be able to control the Zhu clan and then annex the Zhu clan. The bearded man behind young Master Teng stared coldly at Su Fong, looking as if he would kill Su Fong at any moment. Master Peng looked at Su Fong as if he was looking at a dead man. His eyes were filled with pride. Who knew? Su Fong said indifferently. It's just a spot for the preliminary round of the Myriad Refinements Conference. Since young Master Ting wants it, just take it. Master Fong, Madame Zhu was shocked. Master Fong came to the Zhu clan for the spot for the Myriad Refinements Conference. Now that the spot was taken by young Master Teng in a domineering manner, why didn't he react at all? On second thought, Su Fong seemed to have no other choice but to accept his fate. The others were startled, but they weren't surprised. Master Peng snorted and said, "Outsider, weren't you very arrogant before? I thought you were an extraordinary person, but it turns out that you are a coward." Su Fong said, "If young Master Teng doesn't have any other matters, I will take my leave." With Su Fong showing weakness, young Master Teng couldn't let his experts attack. Chapter 1741. Master Peng stared at Su Fong and grinned. "I was very dissatisfied with what happened 20 years ago. Today, young Master Teng, please be the witness. I want to compete with you in the art of forging. It won't be too late for you to leave after the competition." Su Fong chuckled. "What if I don't want to?" Young Master Teng said majestically, "You have to compete even if you don't want to. If you win against Master Peng, you can continue to be a blacksmith in the Zhu clan. If you lose, get out of the Zhu clan immediately." Since young Master Ting said so, I can only ask Master Peng for advice. Coincidentally, I encountered a bottleneck in forging and need to find a blacksmith to exchange pointers. Su Fong answered straightforwardly, as if he didn't notice Master Peng's murderous intent. "Brat, you dare to hit my face. Today, I will let you die without a burial place." Master Peng smiled coldly. "How does Master Peng plan to compete?" Su Fong asked with a silly look. "Forging a Dao tool can take as little as 10 years or as long as 1,000 years. Young Master Teng's time is precious. How can you wait for such a long time?" Master Peng stroked his 1-foot-long beard and said gloomily. Then, Master Peng suddenly took out 2 xianguang from his storage ring. Inside each xianguang, there was an embryonic form of a flying sword sealed by a formation. There were handprints and mysterious and complex, true fire marks on the sword. Surprisingly, they were 2 top-grade flying swords. Master Gu praised, "Brother Peng can actually forge top-grade magic treasures. Your blacksmithing skills have improved to another level. Congratulations. Brother Gu reached my level 100,000 years ago. Compared to Brother Gu, I am ashamed," Master Peng said modestly, but his face was full of pride. 20 years ago, you humiliated me in this way. Today, I will pay you back in the same way. These 2 embryonic forms of flying swords were personally forged by me. Only the last step is left. You and I will use the treasured cauldron to control the flames and successfully forge the embryonic forms of flying swords. Whoever uses the shortest time and has the highest quality magic treasure will be the winner. Master Peng explained the competition method. So simple? If they were to compare the quality of the Dao tools that Su Fong refined, he would not be able to compete with Master Peng. When the time came, he would have no choice but to ask the Dead Lord for help in secret. Who would have thought that Grandmaster Peng would propose such a method of competition? With Su Fong's current artifact crafting level, it was not enough to refine a top-grade Dao artifact. However, with the power of his flames, it would not be difficult for him to complete the last step of controlling the flames to burn the Dao treasure's Dao palace of heaven and earth. Furthermore, he would not be any weaker than Master Peng. Simple. Master Peng sneered in his heart. "I'll let you die a horrible death later." Then, Master Peng said generously, "In order to be fair, you can choose first." Su Fong activated his perfect fleshly body ability, but did not find anything unusual about the 2 flying sword embryonic forms. Therefore, he randomly chose one of them. Master Peng then said to Master Gu, "Brother Gu, in order to be fair, let him use your treasure so that he won't say that I borrowed the power of the cauldron if he loses." Master Gu took out a cauldron that was about 30 meters tall from his storage ring. It was actually an ancient magic treasure. Although it was not as good as the Tiangang creation cauldron, it was still extraordinary. Master Gu said proudly, "A low-level artifact like you will never have the chance to use my ancient magic treasure in your lifetime. I'll let you use it once. You don't need to fuse with the cauldron. I'll activate the cauldron for you. You can use your primordial fire to control the flames inside the cauldron." "That's very fair." Su Fong smiled faintly. After Master Gu activated the cauldron with his hand, he retreated to the side and looked on with folded arms. At this time, Master Peng also took out a cauldron, but its quality was not as good as Master Gu's. "Let's begin." Master Peng activated the cauldron and inserted the prototype flying sword into it. Su Fong smiled faintly. After removing the formation on his prototype flying sword, he inserted it into the array of the cauldron. Then, he formed a hand seal to activate a part of the firepower of the illusory fire cloud to control the flames in the cauldron, refining and brewing the sword. Suddenly, after the flames that burst out from the array of the cauldron merged with Su Fong's primordial fire, a stream of flames actually flowed back along with Su Fong's primordial fire and entered Su Fong's body. This stream of flames was not fierce. Instead, it carried a chilling aura of death. After entering Su Fong's body, it immediately merged with Su Fong's flesh and blood, crazily devouring Su Fong's life aura. The undead king suddenly said, "Master, this is the energy decay corpse flame. It's refined from the corpse flame of a resurrected Dao realm expert. It can quickly corrode a cultivator's life aura and is extremely insidious." "Energy decay corpse flame? Master, don't worry. This little bit of energy decay corpse flame is nothing to me." Inside the sky-burying dark coffin, the undead king immediately activated a stream of death power and absorbed all the energy decay corpse flame in Su Fong's body. In fact, there was no need for the undead king to do anything. Su Fong's pure yang power could refine all evil power. "It seems that Master Peng and Master Gu are planning to kill me. Tung Chu must be behind this. It's impolite not to reciprocate. Undead king, think of a way to return the favor. They're just two ants. It's easy to get rid of them," the undead king said domineeringly. Seeing Su Fong use his primordial fire to merge the flames in the cauldron, Master Gu and Master Peng smiled at each other. Their eyes were filled with pride and cruelty. Then, Master Peng stared fixedly at Su Fong, waiting for Su Fong to die on the spot. Who knew? Half an hour later, Su Fong seemed to be unharmed. 2 hours later, Su Fong still showed no signs of being devoured by the corpse flame. Could it be that the decaying corpse flame has no effect? That's impossible. Once the decaying corpse flame touches the primordial fire, it will seep into the body through the primordial fire. It's incomparably powerful. How can it be ineffective on this kid? Master Peng and Master Gu secretly communicated. They were both very surprised. Su Fong's voice sounded, "Master Peng, are you deliberately letting me win? Thank you so much." Only then did Master Peng realize that he had been waiting for Su Fong to die. Unknowingly, nearly 4 hours had passed. Chi! A burst of flames swept the sword out of the cauldron. Su Fong struck out dazzling hand seals. Su Fong's fire elemental power merged perfectly with the cauldron's flames. It incessantly burned the prototype of the flying sword and refined the Tao Palace of heaven and earth. In this state, more than 2 hours passed. Su Fong suddenly waved his hand and swept out a stream of spiritual liquid. He poured it on the sword that was being burned by the primordial fire. Pung! A burst of mist rose and swept out in all directions. A supreme-grade flying sword appeared in front of everyone's eyes. Until now, Master Peng's flying sword was still brewing in the cauldron. It would take at least half a day to complete the refinement. This kid's ability to control flames is really extraordinary. Why is the decaying corpse flame ineffective on him? Master Peng and Master Gu were both shocked and puzzled. Young Master Teng's eyes were also filled with surprise. The attention of everyone in the stone hall was attracted by the flying sword. No one noticed that the spiritual liquid that Su Fong poured out was evaporated by the burning sword. There was a trace of death chi in the steam. It was like a living creature. As the steam spread around, Master Peng inhaled it into his nostrils. This trace of death chi was a mark created by the undead king with the Tao of Death. It was absorbed into Master Peng's body and lurked in his heart, slowly devouring his life essence. In less than a month, his life force would be completely devoured. With the undead king's current strength, he could even fight against a demigod with the sky-burying dark coffin. Wouldn't it be a piece of cake for him to punish an insignificant blacksmith like Master Peng? Su Fong also prepared a gift for Master Gu in the treasure cauldron. As long as Master Gu activated the treasure cauldron, he would receive this gift that would make him extremely surprised. As for young Master Tang, it would be too easy for him to kill him directly. Su Fong decided to spare his life for now. Young Master Tang, do I win this blacksmith competition? Su Fong looked at young Master Tang. Useless trash. Young Master Tang shouted coldly at Master Peng. Then, he stood up and walked out of the stone hall. Master Peng and Master Gu resentfully put away their cauldrons. Before they left, they glared fiercely at Su Fong. Naturally, they didn't forget to threaten him. Master Fong, young Master Tang, took the quota for the Myriad Refinement Conference. What should we do? Madame Zhu felt extremely guilty. She was also worried that Su Fong would leave in a huff. Without a blacksmith, the Zhu clan would be in trouble again. It doesn't matter. Since he took my quota, I will make him spit it back out and make him pay 10 times the price. Su Fong smiled indifferently and left embarrassedly. Looking at Su Fong's back, Madame Zhu felt that this black-faced, young blacksmith was somewhat unfathomable. Young Master Tang left the Zhu clan with the experts of the Tang clan and the 2 blacksmiths. Master Peng couldn't help but ask Master Gu, "Brother Gu, why didn't the method you prepared in the treasure cauldron work? I also find it strange. Why is the decaying corpse flame not moving? Let's see what's going on." Master Gu immediately separated a strand of yang energy and sent it into the treasure cauldron in the depths of his body to check the decaying corpse flame hidden in the array. The decaying corpse flame was still floating in the array of the weapon cauldron, as if it had never been touched. Master Gu released a strand of thought to activate the decaying corpse flame. Just as his thought touched the decaying corpse flame, boom! The decaying corpse flame suddenly exploded, turning into rolling corpse flames that engulfed the array, burning and corroding Master Gu's yang energy. Not only that, the corpse flames broke through the array shackles of the weapon cauldron and rushed out of the weapon cauldron like a flood, engulfing Master Gu's body. Sizzle! The corpse flames crazily burned Master Gu's body. Amidst the miserable screams, Master Gu's body was burned into a dried corpse without a trace of blood. Chapter 1742. Since young Master Tang had taken the qualification for the preliminary round of the Myriad Refinement Conference, Su Fong was not in a hurry. He continued to stay in the Zhu clan's equipment forging dojo and cultivate the Tao of equipment forging. After this, young Master Tang did not come to the Zhu clan again. Young Master Tung Chu, was frightened. First, it was Master Gu who died mysteriously. A few months later, Master Peng also died mysteriously. In the end, he became a dried corpse and died a miserable death. Young Master Tung was not an idiot. He faintly sensed some clues and could not help but fear Su Fong. He did not dare to trouble Su Fong again and even temporarily gave up the idea of annexing the Zhu clan. 100 years passed in the blink of an eye. On this day, Su Fong called for Madame Zhu. He shot out a Xian Guang, rolled out a storage ring, and handed it to Madame Zhu. Then, he said, "I will go to Tang City and will probably take some time. These flying swords will be enough to support the equipment forging dojo for a while." In these years, Su Fong had mainly focused on forging top-grade Tao artifacts. Naturally, he did not have the energy to forge middle-grade flying swords for the equipment forging dojo. The flying swords that Su Fong handed to Madame Zhu were all forged by the equipment forging dojo's equipment forging dojo in the Zhenlong realm. Of course, the materials used were from the Zhu clan. Is Master Su leaving? Madame Zhu's expression changed, and her heart sank. Ever since he won the competition with Master Peng, Teng Sheng knew that the Zhu clan's equipment forging dojo had recruited a powerful equipment forging master. This caused the business of the Zhu clan's equipment forging dojo to skyrocket. Because of this, the entire Zhu clan showed signs of prosperity. If Su Fong left the Zhu clan now, the Zhu clan would definitely return to its original state. How could Madame Zhu not be anxious? What? Madame Zhu, you don't want me to leave? After cultivating in the Cavern of Time for more than 1,000 years, Su Fong's cultivation was about to reach the peak of the advanced stage of the Dao realm. Just now, Su Fong successfully forged another top-grade Dao artifact. Naturally, he was in a good mood. When he saw Madame Zhu's beautiful face, he could not help but tease her. Madame Zhu's cold face blushed. Then, she clenched her teeth and said, "If Master Fong is willing to stay in the Zhu clan, I am willing to pay any price. At any cost." Su Fong raised his eyebrows, and his gaze involuntarily swept over Madame Zhu's face and chest. The corners of his mouth curled into a smile. Madame Zhu said resolutely, "That's right, I'll pay any price. The time for the Myriad Refinement Conference hasn't arrived yet, so I naturally won't leave. Therefore, Madame Zhu doesn't need to pay any price. I'm only going to Tong City to take care of some matters and take back my quota for the preliminaries of the Myriad Refinements Conference." Su Fong chuckled and then walked out of the equipment forging training hall. Madame Zhu was shocked and stunned, but soon became angry. I was actually taken advantage of by him. This person looks honest and sincere, but he's actually lecherous by nature. He's not a good person. Then, she felt very frustrated. Could it be that I'm already a middle-aged woman and am no longer attractive to him? After leaving the Zhu clan, Su Fong arrived at the Tong City Bazaar. First, he went straight to the person in charge of the Tong clan's market and explained his intentions. "You want to rent a place in the busiest area of the market for 100 years? After hearing Su Fong's intentions, the person in charge immediately became spirited. Today, he met a big customer, no, a fat sheep. "That's right. How many immortal stones do I need to pay?" Su Fong nodded and said. The person in charge of the Tong clan thought for a moment and said a number, 10 million medium-grade immortal stones. You can choose a Tinjiang area in the bazaar and use it for 100 years. Su Fong's brows furrowed. 10 million medium-grade immortal stones? That's a bit expensive. The person in charge of the Tong clan hurriedly said, "The rent is negotiable. 10 million medium-grade immortal stones it is. However, I need a guarantee that no one can obstruct me for 100 years. The person in charge of the Tong clan was overjoyed. "You don't have to worry about this. Whoever obstructs, you will be provoking the Tong clan. The Tong clan will send experts to suppress them even if you don't do anything. What if the Tong clan's young master obstructs me?" The person in charge of the Tong clan was startled and immediately asked, "What are you planning to do? Why does it involve the Tong clan's young master?" "I'm going to forge a Dao artifact." "Forge a Dao artifact?" The person in charge of the Tong clan was startled. Could it be that this ordinary-looking young cultivator was an idiot? He actually spent a sky-high price to rent a place in the bazaar of Tong City to forge artifacts? Then, he said solemnly, "As long as you don't do anything harmful to the Tong clan, even the Tong clan's young masters won't dare to do anything to you." The bazaar of the Tong clan is managed by the young clan leader. Those young masters won't dare to act presumptuously in the bazaar. Then I'm relieved. Su Fong immediately handed over the immortal stones and signed the agreement. The person in charge of the Tong clan brought Su Fong to the bazaar. In the center of the bazaar, he marked out a Tinjiang area and gave it to Su Fong. Su Fong created a formation in the surroundings and then sat cross-legged in the middle of the formation. He took out pieces of origin stones and all kinds of materials needed for forging artifacts. There were actually more than 100 kinds of materials piled up into a small mountain in the middle of the formation. Su Fong's strange actions immediately attracted the attention of everyone in the bazaar, and they all gathered around him. At first, people thought that Su Fong was setting up a stall to sell materials for forging artifacts. Who would have thought that Su Fong would start to polish all kinds of origin stones and other materials? Only now did the crowd understand Su Fong's intention. Whispers immediately sounded in the crowd. This person actually plans to forge artifacts in public in the bazaar of Tong City. Could this swarthy foreign cultivator be an idiot? The daily fee for setting up a stall in the bazaar wasn't low. Su Fong occupied such a large area, and forging artifacts wasn't something that could be completed in a day or two. How much money would it cost? Who would do this except for an idiot? Looking at these materials, this person actually plans to forge a top-grade Dao artifact. Some knowledgeable people saw some clues from Su Fong's materials and immediately cried out in surprise. Forge a top-grade Dao artifact? How old is this kid? He actually plans to forge a top-grade Dao artifact? This person is either a wild and unrestrained refining genius or an idiot. Genius? How can a genius who can forge a top-grade Dao artifact and has the strength to take first place in the 10,000 Refinement Conference set up a stall in Tong City? I think this person is definitely an idiot. I think this person's intention isn't simple. He plans to use this method to attract the attention of the major powers of the Burning Flame domain and amaze the world with a single brilliant feat. He's just playing to the gallery. Everyone discussed animatedly. Some people snorted at Su Fong's actions, and some people who saw Su Fong's materials had the intention to kill him and steal his treasures. Su Fong turned a deaf ear to the crowd's discussion. He used sharp weapons or sword formations to polish the materials. He appeared to be extremely patient. In the blink of an eye, more than a year had passed. Su Fong finished polishing all the materials. Then, Su Fong took out the void dust cauldron and refined the polished materials. This process took nearly a year. Su Fong became a unique scenery in Tong City's bazaar. Outside the formation, no one stayed to watch the show. At most, they would look from afar and laugh a few times. Young Master Tung Chu, also received the news that Su Fong was forging in the bazaar. At first, he was very surprised, but soon, he sneered disdainfully. 100 years ago, he could only forge a middle-grade Dao artifact at most. Now, he actually plans to forge a top-grade Dao artifact. Isn't this extremely laughable? At his age, if he could really forge a top-grade Dao artifact, he would have been recruited by the Jiang clan. Why would he need to join a declining clan like the Zhu clan? The expert with the dragon beard said, "This person is openly forging in the Tang clan's bazaar. I'm afraid his intention is not simple. Obviously, he is demonstrating his power to young master, or he wants to attract the attention of the higher-ups of the Tang clan and take back the qualification for the preliminary round of the 10,000 Refinement Conference that young master took away. Why don't I take action and directly kill him to prevent him from damaging young master's reputation? The bazaar is young master's territory. If we take action against this person, it will definitely cause a conflict with young master. It's not worth it. Let this person cause a ruckus. After he leaves with his tail between his legs, we could just kill him. However, you must be careful when the time comes. I'm afraid that this person has some hidden methods. I suspect that the deaths of Peng and Gu are related to this person." Su Fong finished polishing and refining all the materials. Then, he took out a treasure cauldron. It was not the Heavenly Dipper Creation Cauldron, but a top-grade treasure cauldron. If Su Fong took out the Heavenly Dipper Creation Cauldron, it would definitely attract the attention of some big shots. It was possible that they would kill him at all costs and seize his treasures. Even so, the treasure cauldron Su Fong took out still attracted many greedy gazes. Just this treasured cauldron alone was worth a lot, not to mention that there were so many forging materials. If it weren't for the fact that Su Fong had created a powerful formation in the Tang clan's bazaar, someone might have already killed him and seized his treasures. Whoosh! Su Fong poured the liquid of all the refined materials into the treasure cauldron. Then, Su Fong released the mark of true fire, which merged perfectly with the flames in the treasured cauldron. He controlled the flames inside the cauldron and started to burn the materials. What kind of true fire does this person cultivate? His ability to control flames is so powerful. This person's forging technique is so skillful, and his flames are so powerful. He can be called a forging master. Look at the hand seals he used. Although they are simple, they contain endless mysteries and release powerful flames. This person is extraordinary, very extraordinary. Who knows, he might be able to refine a top-grade Dao artifact. Only now did Su Fong attract the attention of some forging masters. The number of people gathering outside the formation gradually increased. Su Fong put half of his attention on forging and the other half on cultivation. He didn't care about the reactions of the people outside. Young Master Tung, who received the news, felt that it was unbelievable. He couldn't sit still anymore. If Su Fong continued to cause trouble, the higher-ups of the Tung clan would definitely be alerted. On this day, Fong Yu, are you trying to show off and provoke the Tung clan by forging in our bazaar? Leave the bazaar. Otherwise, don't blame me for breaking the rules and driving you out of the bazaar. Outside the formation, young Master Tung Chu's cold voice sounded. Then, Tung Chu, who was wearing a silver robe, appeared outside the formation. Chapter 1743. What an arrogant cultivator from the outside! Tung Chu shouted coldly, and his eyes flashed with a cold light. 8K, red K book, 2 infinity 3, is not equal to then. He gave a cold order to the bearded cultivator. How can a foreign cultivator be so arrogant in the Tung clan's market? Break the formation and expel this person from Tung City. If he resists, suppress him immediately. Yes. After the bearded cultivator formed a hand seal, he controlled an aura that could topple mountains and overturn seas and crashed into the formation. Boom! The formation around Su Fong suffered such a powerful attack, and a loud rumble sounded. Although the commotion was great, the formation did not move at all. Su Fong raised the corner of his mouth, revealing a trace of ridicule, and continued to immerse himself in refining. With his terrifying strength that was comparable to a demigod expert, how can early-stage Dao realm immortal venerable easily shake the formation he created casually? Boom, boom, boom. The bearded cultivator used all his strength and attacked more than 10 times, but the formation still did not move. What a powerful formation. It's so sturdy. Is this person an expert in the Dao formations? Tung Chu was surprised and shocked. The curly-bearded cultivator's face flushed red instead. He was a renowned expert of the Tung clan at any rate, yet he was actually unable to shake a formation created by a sane immortal realm cultivator, and it was simply humiliating to the extreme. At this moment, a cold shout sounded. Tung Chu, what are you doing? Under the protection of more than 10 Tung clan experts, a young man of the Tung clan strode over. This young man was tall and had a domineering aura as he walked. His strength was also very shocking, reaching the peak of the early-stage Dao realm. Greetings, young clan leader. Greetings, elder brother. Tung Chu and the bearded cultivator cupped their fists and greeted. This young man was the young clan leader of the Tung clan. At such a young age, he was already at the peak of the early-stage Dao realm. His cultivation talent was extraordinary, and he could be considered a genius. Tung Chu, as the young master of the Tung clan, why are you causing trouble in the Tung clan's market? The young clan leader said coldly. This person is openly refining in the market, looking down on our clan. I am doing this to protect the dignity of the Tung clan. Tung Chu's body trembled, and he quickly found a dignified reason. The young clan leader said coldly, this person paid the rent and signed an agreement with the Tung clan. He can use of this place. He can use this place. How is he looking down on our clan? Why aren't you leaving? Tung Chu glared hatefully at Su Fong, then left with the bearded cultivator in embarrassment. Su Fong sat there without moving and said indifferently, I'm at a critical moment in refining and can't split myself. Please forgive me, young patriarch. The young clan leader waved his hand and said to Su Fong, Sir, your ability is extraordinary. If you are willing to join our clan, I can promise you that you will be given a high status, and you will enjoy the treatment of a master. Su Fong said, "Thank you, young clan leader. However, I have already joined the Zhu clan. I will not consider joining the Tang clan." The Zhu clan? The young clan leader raised his eyebrows and showed displeasure. The Tang clan leader beside him said, "Young clan leader, this person would rather join the declining Zhu clan than join our Tang clan. He is indeed arrogant. He dares to look down on our clan. Let's suppress him and make him our refining slave. This person has an agreement with our clan. If we suppress him openly, it will damage our clan's reputation. It is not appropriate." The young clan leader shook his head and rejected the suggestion of his subordinate. Then, the young clan leader said to Su Fong, "Sir, you want to join the Zhu clan for Lady Zhu's beauty and the Zhu clan's inherited fire elemental superpower. If you are willing to join our clan, you can choose any woman more beautiful than Lady Zhu. Our fire elemental superpower will not be weaker than the Zhu clan's. You can also cultivate it. What do you think?" Su Fong refused without hesitation. "I am sorry. I have no intention of joining the Tang clan. I can only accept the young clan leader's kindness." The young clan leader's face turned gloomy. He walked out of the market with his subordinates and said to one of his subordinates, "Keep an eye on this person. If he can successfully forge a top-grade Dao weapon, recruit him at all costs. If he fails, suppress him as soon as he walks out of the market." Yes. 50 years passed in the blink of an eye. In Su Fong's weapon cauldron, the Dao Palace of Heaven and Earth gradually took shape. Outside the formation, layers and layers of people gathered. No one dared to mock Su Fong anymore. Instead, they were all praising Su Fong's ability to refine weapons. Their gazes towards Su Fong were filled with respect. The top-grade Dao weapon in the weapon cauldron is about to be forged. He can forge a top-grade Dao weapon at such a young age. In the entire Incineration Blaze region, only a few peerless forging geniuses from the big clans can surpass him. Genius, this person will definitely become a top master in the Incineration Blaze region in the future. I heard that this person is a forging master of the Zhu clan. I didn't expect the Zhu clan, which has long declined, to be able to recruit such a genius. Lady Zhu and her son, Zhuyan, stared at Su Fong in the crowd. Her eyes were filled with shock and excitement. At the same time, she was worried about her gains and losses. How could the Zhu clan keep such a talented blacksmith? He was definitely not a fish in a pond. If she had known this would happen, she would have sacrificed herself. Even if she couldn't keep this person in the Zhu clan, she would have made a good impression on him. When he soared, the Zhu clan would be under his protection. Young Zhuyan's eyes were filled with reverence as he looked at Su Fong. He clenched his fists and said, "One day, I will become someone like Master Fong." At this moment, there was a commotion in the crowd. A large group of Tang clan experts escorted a green-robed elder out of the formation. This elder's aura was empty, but he had a domineering aura. It was obvious that he was an expert who had been in a high position for a long time. This person was the leader of the Tang clan, a mid-level Dao realm expert. He was famous in the Incineration Blaze region. No one expected him to come personally to watch Su Fong forge a weapon. The young leader of the Tang clan and young master, Tang Chu, also came with the leader. Their expressions were different. The young leader secretly rejoiced. "Fortunately, I didn't attack this person. Otherwise, with this person's skill in forging weapons, he would definitely be valued by the leader. If I offended this person, I would definitely be punished by the leader." Tung Chu, on the other hand, was filled with regret. His heart was restless. Only now did he understand that Su Fong openly forged weapons in the market not to show off to him, but to show his talent and attract the attention of the higher-ups of the Tang clan. This time, even the leader was alarmed. With this person's forging skills, the Tang clan would definitely recruit him at all costs. If the leader knew that he had repeatedly targeted Su Fong and wanted to kill Su Fong, Tang Chu would definitely be severely punished. He might even lose the right to compete with the young leader. Suddenly, Su Fong grabbed at the weapon cauldron. Chi, a sword body that was burned by Su Fong's primordial fire, and the weapon cauldron's flame flew out from the weapon cauldron. "Go!" After Su Fong made a hand seal, he released a stream of spiritual liquid and splashed it on the sword body. A puff of white smoke rose into the air along with a faint multicolored light. Clang! Without waiting for the white smoke and glow to disperse, a sword light soared into the sky from the flying sword with a clear dragon roar. Buzz! 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 Most of the cultivators present used flying swords. When Su Fong's flying sword let out a sword roar, it exploded and vibrated continuously. Some of the weaker cultivators could not control the flying swords in their bodies. They flew out of their bodies and floated in the air. The tips of the swords pointed in the direction of the weapon cauldron and emitted a buzzing sound. They seemed to be worshipping the newly created flying sword. The birth of a sword, the worship of 10,000 swords. How inconceivable was this? And how magnificent was this scene? This scene caused everyone to be incomparably shocked. This person's forging talent can be said to be nature-defying. The Tang clan must recruit him. The eyes of the leader of the Tang clan shone brightly. He looked at Su Fong as if he was looking at a peerless treasure. At this moment, the white smoke and glow dissipated and a flying sword appeared. The 3-foot-long sword was emitting a dazzling brilliance. Above the sword, there was a green light that was slithering around like a green dragon. The flying sword released a divine power that only a supreme-grade Dao weapon could have. It also had a supreme, domineering aura that no other flying sword had. Even a supreme-grade Dao weapon had to bow down to it. This sword contained Su Fong's understanding of the great Dao of weapon forging of the Celestial Treasure Emperor. Therefore, it was full of spirituality as soon as it was born. At the same time, when Su Fong was forging this sword, he injected the Dragon Chi imprint and the Emperor's seal into the Heaven and Earth Dao Palace. Extraordinary forging techniques, extraordinary true fire, and hand seals made this supreme-grade flying sword extraordinary. It was far beyond the reach of ordinary supreme-grade flying swords. Even a supreme-grade flying sword at the peak of the Dao realm was inferior to it. Swoosh! Swoosh! Under everyone's shocked gazes, Su Fong put the flying sword, weapon cauldron, and the remaining materials into his storage ring. Then, Su Fong removed the surrounding formation. The chief of the Tang clan cupped his fists at Su Fong. Master Su, the young chief of the Tang clan said, Master Su, this is the chief of our clan. Su Fong cupped his fists and said, Fong Yu greets the chief. 88S the chief of the Tang clan said with a smile, Master Su, you're good. In this refinement conference, you'll definitely be able to show your talent, and even have a chance to win. Su Fong said indifferently, I'm not even qualified to participate in the preliminary round of the refinement conference. How can I show my talent? The chief of the Tang clan was stunned. Master Fong is a weapon forger of the Zhu clan. The Zhu clan originally had a place to participate in the preliminary round of the refinement conference, but it was taken away by Tang Chu's brother and given to a slave who can't even forge a low-grade Dao weapon. The young chief mercilessly hit Tang Chu when he was down. Tang Chu was a potential threat to him. If he didn't hit him when he was down now, when would he?